download it and open it up. All right,
Okay.
Dr. Cole, we're ready for you.
This is Danny Hoots, and I do know that Miss Washington was on earlier, and she may be trying to rejoin. I think I'm not for sure if everyone understands, but something happened and it kicked everyone off, and we're having to rejoin. So,
Right.
But however you all want to continue, but she was on earlier, but she may be trying to rejoin.
Okay. Mr. Jones, I am at your discretion. So in the interest of time, though, I'd be willing to go ahead and do a brief intro and make some remarks if that would be appropriate, or however you direct me to proceed.
Yes, Dr. Goldman, may we? Let's go ahead.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I understand that we've got some inclement weather in the area. Is that putting it mildly? Let me be brief. And Mr. Jones, I'd like to speak for 10 minutes or so, and then try and address any questions that your listening audience may have. I think that may be more appropriate than going through the full list of things or speech that we had originally planned. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I'll try and make up a little time here. I'm in DC right now, and but I want to clear up to several of you on the call that yes, this is the same Dwayne Goldman that initially spoke to ALFDC at the time, probably about 25 years ago, Mr. Jones, Dr. King. This is the same Dwayne Goldman that's a third generation farmer over in Jefferson County, headquartered there in Wabaseka. And for those of you that may not know, that's a suburb of Altimer in the greater Pine Bluff metropolitan area. But no, I'm a country boy, yeah. Let me start by saying, one, in the middle of the winter storm that you're experiencing in Arkansas, please be safe and make sure that safety is at the top of the list. Whatever you need to do, check on loved ones and that sort of thing, especially the elderly. And I'd also want to send thoughts and prayers to the citizens of Ukraine who are being invaded right now, unfortunately. So let's continue to think about the folks in Europe as we continue. And for us, let's remain vigilant. Let's be safe. The threat of cyber attack is probably a little higher right now, and I just ask all of us to be vigilant and keep our Ukraine citizens in our thoughts and prayers. Let me move right in, though. The theme of this year's conference is a reason for hope, and I when I first saw that, I thought, man, how appropriate. In the middle of a lot of change, I think hope has been the thing that continues to drive us. The Biden-Harris administration has instilled a lot of hope, and a lot of hope in addressing some longstanding issues that are very familiar among this audience, particularly the farmers and ranchers on the phone, and two things in particular. One is a upfront addressing of the fact that we are going through climate change. I mean, here we are in late February, and you're experiencing an ice storm in Arkansas. I can remember as a kid growing up when we would look for that ice storm to come sometime in January, because over the Christmas break, we'd have a slight delay, usually sometime around early to mid-January, where we might get a couple of days out of school. And now, that has shifted. Next week it'll be March, and we're experiencing an ice storm, and it may not be over yet. I think all of this is an indication of climate change, and this administration has taken that on, and we'll talk about that a little bit. The other major change, I think, of the Biden-Harris administration probably has a lot to do with me sitting in Washington, D.C. and being fortunate enough to address you this morning. And that is that we've taken a different approach on equity and particularly racial equity. I've talked to several of you before. The summary is that I am serving as the initial senior advisor for racial equity, reporting to the Secretary of Agriculture. And there's a lot of work that we've done. I'll share some of those details with you, but there's a lot of work to be done. And I would hope that the ALCDC family will lean in with us and help us address those. When you look at the Department of Agriculture, Secretary Vilsack coming back for an unprecedented third time, there were certain priorities that we've been working on. I mentioned climate change. We're trying to increase market access. We're trying to tackle food and nutrition insecurity. We're focusing on the internal composition of USDA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and trying to put in place processes, personnel that can help make sure that USDA as a department is reflective of the agricultural republic that we are bound to serve. And then finally, I'll make some comments on our racial justice and equity efforts that I tend to work very closely with. I started almost a year ago and immediately we started in a kind of a cross-departmental work focusing on how USDA can achieve equity in all of its mission areas. That was done in response to an executive order that President Biden signed the first day in office, dealing with racial justice and equity, and also dealing with disparities that exist between our urban and rural communities. That work is ongoing. We have submitted a couple of reports to the White House, and most recently submitted an equity action plan that provides details on how we intend to attack and address inequities that exist in our programs. Along with that, shortly after that, the president signed an additional executive order, 14035, which deals with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. This is the part where USDA is looking across itself to make sure that, again, we are reflective of the public we're trying to serve. There were a couple of other things that we were able to do. In fact, I suspect that if you are a farmer, a rancher, and you have an FSA loan, I'd be surprised if you weren't interested in or concerned about the provisions of the American Rescue Plan that dealt with that. So I'll just touch on those briefly to address kind of the elephant in the room. I was engaged in several discussions across the country where we laid out our plans to deliver on a mandate by Congress to provide debt relief for underserved farmers and ranchers who had outstanding FSA debts. Congress recognized, and we recognized that.
Okay.
I'll wait on you to mute this. Okay, but we recognize that due to, and I'm just gonna speak plainly to you, but due to some discrimination, bias, there were several inequities that existed, and a lot of those inequities dealt with how Farm Service Agency administered its loan programs. And so our intent and Congress's intent was to pay the debt, relieve the debt, and then improve the process going forward. And we were looking forward to implement that program because it dealt with the cumulative effect of being historically denied. But you're probably also aware that less than 60 days after we rolled that program out, we started to get sued. And currently, there are over a dozen lawsuits. There are restraining orders and injunctions that actually prevent the Farm Service Agency from making those payments. Because those debt payments, that debt relief was a congressional mandate, the Department of Justice is in the position to defend our ability to pay those loans. USDA and our Office of General Counsel is supporting the Department of Justice in defending the constitutionality of those payments. But again, because it is a legal matter and it's tied up in litigation, I really can't say much beyond that other than we are vigorously defending the need and the right to make those payments. Unfortunately, I can't give you any timelines because I don't control the courts. Neither does the secretary. But that is where we are. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this is critically important, I believe your new, very talented, very capable State Executive Director of FSA, Ms. Doris Washington. I've known Doris for a long time. I continue to be impressed with her command of the subject and her leadership ability. And I know I've engaged with the Farm Service Agency, the administrator, the undersecretaries, and we're all working to deliver on the secretary's request mandate that we don't foreclose on any farmers while we are going through the litigation that's required to allow us to get to a point where we can make those payments. As you are aware, as farmers, FSA makes several different types of loans, and the exact best decision, best option for you to restructure or rearrange a loan has a lot of variables associated with it. And so if you are in a position where you have an FSA loan, and the other thing I'll say is that there is a congressional requirement that when farmers, ranchers become delinquent on loans or when payments are due, there is a letter that's required to come to you. And that letter will discuss several options. The best course of action for you to take is to contact your local FSA loan officer and have them walk you through different options that are available to you. If that doesn't yield a satisfactory result, you have a talented state executive director that can manage options going through this program. And if that doesn't work, I'll say this, and I'm looking at Ms. Washington, I want to know about it, because I think it would be a great injustice if we lose a critical resource, Black and brown farmers, if we lose any of those farmers while we're trying to work through the legal matters that's required to do what's needed. Our goal is to make sure that we still have those farmers in place so that we can continue to keep involved in the better service as we go forward. And so I think I'll stop there and we'll leave it open for questions, Mr. Jones, on the ARP. Let me spend a few minutes though talking about, it's one thing to talk about equity and the importance of it. It's quite a different one to talk about some of the other investments that are being made around achieving equity and addressing those priorities that we talked about. So there's a couple of things I wanted to call to your attention. And I've talked with Dr. King about this, and we have tried to incorporate that thinking into a request for grants. There's $1 billion that the secretary announced a couple of weeks ago that's meant to address climate smart agricultural practices. We would hope that several of you on the phone would be involved in proposals that could demonstrate how we can make sure that as we think about climate smart ag practices, that those practices reach farmers where they are, so that surely there are larger farmers who will be able to invest in certain practices that will help with climate mitigation. And our hope and our desire is that we also have programs that reach you on your farms or your ranches that can deal, again, with climate smart agricultural practices. We noticed that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in order for you as a farmer to be able to access certain programs. A lot of those deal with you needing some assistance in working through some of the paperwork or technical assistance that's needed. And so a couple of months ago, we announced a $75 million effort that's going out to some community-based organizations to help with that. Think of that as the first wave. There's a second wave that will be coming out shortly, because the first wave went to organizations that had the ability to reach a large number of people across a wide area. We realize that that there will also be a need to do more of a ground game that provides that same kind of resource to reach smaller farmers where they are. And so we are finalizing the plans to start taking grants for programs that can help address some of the technical assistance and other barriers that keep our farmers and ranchers from participating in various USDA programs. I see your state conservationist, longtime friend of mine, Mr. Mike Sullivan, and I know that NRCS continues to make investments and continues to make investments in the underserved community that will drive conservation adoption among historically underserved farmers. And while I'll say, Mike, that I continue to be impressed with NRCS's ability to cut through the red tape and get conservation initiatives on the ground in an equitable way, I still think there's some progress that can be made, and we look forward to working with you on that. The final thing I'll say about equity, and I know I've had the opportunity to engage with several of you on this one. When we're talking about the American Rescue Plan, I talked about Section 1005, which was strictly dealing with the relief of debt. There's another section in there, 1006, that talks about those things that we're going to improve upon going forward. And a critical part of that was the Equity Commission. So last week, actually 2 weeks ago now, we announced the people that were going to serve on that Equity Commission. So there's 15 people that serve on the Equity Commission. We also are keenly aware of deficiencies and improvements that need to be made in programs that reach you as a farmer. So not only do we have an Equity Commission, but we have an agriculture subcommittee that is comprised of farmers, ranchers, community-based organizations, ag economists. The ag subcommittee is intended to provide very specific recommendations to the Equity Commission that can be advanced and provided to the secretary to help us as we work to achieve equity across USDA programs. This process will be a very public process. It's the entire process is managed by the Federal Advisory Committee Act, which dictates that we have public meetings. The first public meeting is scheduled for this coming Monday, February 28th, from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock Eastern time. That'll be 10 to 3 o'clock Central time. You will have a chance to participate in the initial meeting of the Equity Commission. And you can access this information by going to USDA.gov equity-commission, and you can register as a participant. We look forward to having your input into this process. The intent of this commission, when we were doing meetings talking about the commission, we explained that the intent of the commission is to provide recommendations that can help us finally get this right. And I know a lot of you have been involved with similar efforts before, serving on various advisory committees, providing recommendations into state and federal folks. And a likely question is, why is this different? Dwayne, tell me why this is different. Well, I talked to you about the executive order from the White House. I talked to you about the fact that equity is a top priority of Secretary Vilsack's administration. Those things give us a reason for hope and make this a little different. But the other critical thing that's going to make this a little different is the fact that we have a process to involve input and meaningful input from you, and this is a transparent public process, and we're hopeful that we have the right system in place, the right momentum to finally put in the kind of change that addresses some historical inadequacies, but makes USDA finally the equitable department that it was promised to be over 100 years ago. So Dr. King, Mr. Jones, with that, I'll stop and see if there may be any questions for me on any of the things that I've said or anything else that's going on at USDA. And again, to ALCDC, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. Dr. King, are you there?
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. This is Calvin King. I apologize for my being kicked off of whatever, because something occurred during that whole process. We want to thank Dr. Goldman for his presentation, specifically the enlightenment regarding the Equity and Equality Initiative and the newly formed commission. Dr. Goldman, I do have a question in regard to that. As far as the national level is concerned, and you have the Equity and Equality Commission now that's in implement, that's in process. Do you think it will be the advantage of states, agencies, USDA, to have state committees that will be working directly at the local level that can provide input back to the national level?
Let me repeat the question. And I'm gonna kind of rephrase, and I want you to make sure I get this right, Dr. King. But you're asking if the local USDA folks can provide information into this process at the federal level?
Yes.
And yeah, that would be a good way to do it. You can go that route, but you also have the option of working through those folks that are on the commission and the agriculture subcommittee. So we position that those folks are kind of ambassadors, spokespeople for the people that they represent, and working through them, working through me, or working through your local USDA personnel. All of those are viable options to get information into that equity commission. But I would submit that because we are looking to the commission, the agriculture subcommittee, to work through those deliberations. Making sure that they have the information is probably the surest way to make sure that your concerns are given the proper, the proper weight. And there's also an option to provide written comments. Now, the written comments for this meeting coming up on Monday were cut off a week prior. because the team has to assemble those written comments and figure out a way to reply to them, and that takes some time. But the Equity Commission will meet at least quarterly, and we'll have ample opportunities to get information into them. We're expecting an interim report from that commission in the fall of this year, with the final report being due in 2023.
Dr. Goldman, I'm gonna make sure that I'm understanding, this whole process, and I think that's equally as important for our audience and for the public as a whole. One, the commission will be accepting written comments, and of course, underserved communities sometime in that whole process and that filtering process can be challenging, for us all. And in no uncertain terms, local committees, if states so decide to establish those as equity and equality, that process would be just as you explained, that any recommendations would go through those local ambassadors and the local to provide assurance that it gets to the area where it needs to be. That's one. And then two, that it does put, because at the state and local level, it does put initiatives more locally from the state, technical committees. With NRCS, I'm only using one example, state technical committee, and then of course you have the other agencies as well within USDA. But that's such a committee within interface with the ambassadors that represent those states. And from the recommendation perspective, then of course the committee, those subcommittees, that representation is a makeup of local individuals, community-based organizations, and individual as well, and landowners that they would of course meet, and they're still working more from a local perspective. Based on the reputation and with the ambassadors, they can only do so much in being able to reach that local level. And of course, they're not, again, you can spread yourself, very thin. So that was the reason that I wanted to give reference to that, because to the extent that the Equity and Equality Initiative itself is localized, and that there is a process where there is a full inclusion, and I say a full inclusion, another opportunity for full inclusion is one thing, but being able to be a part of that full inclusion becomes another. I mean, look at what's happening with us right now, just with technology. Seeing technology becomes one issue, and how you're able to address and get information in, and then of course, again, getting it to the right point. So any effort on that part would be just to magnify more the local issues, particularly in the underserved areas, and particularly with those individuals that are seeking services from USDA, the community of color being the most underserved, that we're talking about here. And that was the reason I gave reference to that. I guess my next point on that is that will that be, is there a structure in place? And I'm assuming that it's based on what you just stated, that structure would recognize such efforts at the local and state level.
Okay. Let me point out, because I just thought of something that I probably should have made clear as I was talking about the Equity Commission. I've had the pleasure of serving on local, particularly soil and water conservation districts, and the state technical committee in Arkansas. And we were able, I think in certain cases, we were able to call attention to certain programs that were needed, certain processes that needed to be improved. Those things, those avenues, the local involvement, those things are still in place. So the Equity Commission is not the only way to get information into the decision makers so that improvements can be made. And I'm looking again at State Conservationist Sullivan, State Executive Director Washington, and saying that, you know, the process of local involvement leading up to state and federal changes, that continues to be a part of this process. I think what the Equity Commission will be able to do is they will have the transparency and the ability to look across state lines, determine what's working, determine what needs to be improved, and start to provide a measure of consistency in a broader way as we look to achieve equity at USDA. But none of that is or should be a substitute for continued involvement at the local and state levels, because, you know, that if you're talking to a politician, a president, a congressman, or whatever, they'll tell you that all politics is local, right? You've heard that. So it's
Yes.
very disingenuous to say that we're doing all these great things on a national level. Your backyard is in a disaster, you know? And so I encourage you, continue to invest, continue to weigh in at those county, state levels, and we'll have the Equity Commission looking at it to provide consistency improvements on a larger scale.
Well, let me just mention, Dr. Goldman, any such initiative, and I agree with you 100%, that those initiatives would be dealt with in dealing with, you know, the actual structure, both within the states. You know, subcommittees are making specific recommendations back to the full technical committee, and those recommendations from the technical committee to the state technical committee, of course, with that going through administration, being moved forward to the national level, and those who are both ambassadors and local will be a part of that too. I would definitely agree with you on 100%. I'm just one, because again, I do work from a local perspective and that is a basis that provide a sort of a safety net assurance. There is a process that is localized enough, both through outreach as well as through the state at the state level, that provides some assurances that the input is being provided based on the issues that need to be addressed, and that it is making it into the commission to the national level. So I think so answer my question. And I'm somewhat selfish in some ways. I'm asking these questions because, you know, that's the direction that Arkansas is taking. I feel very good about it. And of course, this is prior to the commission being established. You know, the creation of the subcommittee from the state technical committee, one on equity and equality. And Dr. Goldman, I will say this, you know, too. I will commend you, one, for your work, as well as USDA itself. As we all know, the commission and the structure itself and what is being implemented now is something that was recommended years ago based on an investigation and a report that came out, both with the civil rights report and even more so with specifics from a major firm that specializes and deals with that area of equity and equality, which was the Jackson-Lewis report. And I know you've read that, and of course, the specific areas and where you are now and the structure within USDA on equity and equality are some recommendations that was made as a part of the Jackson-Lewis report. And I know you all looking at all those reports and recommendations that was made prior to the point and the juncture as to where we are now. I have one other question, Dr. Oben. You know, we also, and this came out, you know, as a part of Farm Bill years ago, and we have the National Policy Center. To what extent within this whole structure right now, that's at Alcorn University. To what extent does the Policy Center connect back to our relationships we exist with the National Policy Center?
Great question. And I'm gonna be transparent here. In full disclosure, I served on the advisory board for the Policy Center prior to moving into this position at USDA, and enjoyed doing that because it did provide the kind of advocacy and information that's needed to make some meaningful change. That's an important part of this process. The Policy Center, I know for a fact, because I had several engagements with them since this position, but the Policy Center has been engaged in this process pretty much from the outset. And they have provided written comments on their recommendations for us to achieve equity, to address some of the historical problems. And that information is being considered. It's being presented to the Equity Commission so they can take that and transform those into actionable recommendations that can be made to the Secretary. And I know you've engaged with the Policy Center, Dr. King, and I'd encourage you, again, continue to do that, because the Policy Center has a lot of resources, a lot of positions that they're trying to work through. And when you can get an organization like the Policy Center that can put forward a unified recommendation from a number of organizations, that kind of work is important, because you've already done the compromising and consolidation that needs to happen in order for it to be meaningful and serve multiple people. And I think the Policy Center is establishing itself as being very effective at doing that, particularly for a number of organizations that are focused on Black issues or issues of Black folk in agriculture. I mean, it's been really good at doing that, and that's also an important part. But they have provided, the Policy Center has provided written recommendations that will be put in front of the Equity Commission for consideration.
I appreciate that. I'm going to now. I don't know if Mr. Miller's back on, but I want to just ask the audience if are there any other questions for Dr. Goldman?
All right. And Dr. King, I know you have my contact information. Feel free to share it with this group. I'm not looking to make this a one and done. If there are things that come up, I'd like to know about them. And I'll say the same thing about my USDA colleagues. I think we are trying to provide better service. And if there are issues that come up, please let us know. This goal of being more equitable, when you look at how long some of the issues that we're dealing with have been in place, or actually the root of some of those issues, I think we have to realize that there's likely to be a number of events and situations where there won't be a quick fix. And so we're in this thing for the long haul. The biggest challenge that I see, it's pretty exciting right now when you look at an executive order from the White House and a mandate from the Secretary that we're looking to implement that drives actions across the whole department. It's pretty exciting to be working on that right now. But I find myself being more and more concerned with how do we put these things in place and generate enough positivity so that these changes that we're making, these recommendations that we're implementing, have a sense of permanency to them. Because we need to make permanent changes that will stick around through changes in administration, changes in philosophy. You know, having an equitable department is it's just the right thing to do, and it also addresses puts U.S. agriculture in a position to better address the changing demands of a world population. You know, a population that's growing, a population that is more and more demanding to know more about where their food comes from, food safety, food pricing. If we can concentrate on making all of our producers better at where they are, I would argue that that's a step in the right direction that puts us in a lot stronger position to be a competitive U.S. agricultural system. And at the end of the day, I mean, that has to be the driving factor behind this.
That's going to, it's going to be my last point to make. But in the and you mentioned, basically, I'm rephrasing this. You're talking about a process that will allow for both administration and for the system to institutionalize, in essence, things that will be an improvement as it has to do with equity and equality. My question with that, to what extent will the commission itself have an impact on, will certain recommendations become a part of two things? One, will those recommendations become a part of certain programs that are presently already a part of USDA and Farm Bill or legislative actions? Will it become a part of maybe making a modification or changes to the administrative procedures and processes as to how things be done? One, and I saw a note about the urgency regarding this issue. So will this commission be able to do certain things by way of the urgency to put in place modification or changes with the administration procedures now that exist? That's one. The second question is, will those recommendations based on findings and a lot of findings that have already been made, will those recommendations be a part of the next Farm Bill coming up? Will it be a part of the Farm Bill providing for a means by which we can institutionalize these efforts that are taking place right now? Are those recommendations that are being made?
Yeah, it's always hard for me to follow you because you throw it out there in big old chunks, Dr. King, but I'm gonna try and restate the question to make sure I address it. One was on the Equity Commission's, how we plan to address programs and maybe some legislative regulatory changes that are needed to achieve equity. Is that right? How do we plan to do that? Or is that part of the process?
Yes.
Okay. And then the second question was on, okay. And the second question I think was on how current findings will roll into this process. How will we share that with the Equity Commission so maybe they can continue to move forward? Is that right?
That summarizes to a Senate. And the next one was on the Farm Bill itself.
Okay.
How will this feed into the next Farm Bill?
Thank you. I did miss that one. Let me address those. So there's really three questions. Let me address those. So as we were talking about the Equity Commission, several people, me included, pointed out that, look, some of the changes that will need to be made in order for us to achieve equity, heck, some of them might could be made at a local level. I doubt that, but there may be some. There's probably some that the secretary has the authority to make right now. In terms of, I'll throw out as an example when we recognize that the county committee system was not as representative as it could be to represent the needs of all producers. And the secretary then had the authority to appoint a minority member to that county committee. Now, we still had some issues because of a disconnect with the rights and privileges of those appointees, but we were able to use secretarial authority to appoint people to make sure that there was better representation for underserved producers. That was one that the secretary had the authority on. I'm also aware of some programs that are embedded in congressional law. Things around maybe who loan eligibility. And our guidance, our direction to the Equity Commission, the Agriculture Subcommittee, is to, we're going to share information with you in a very transparent way on information that we have that's related to that subject. It will be up to the Equity Commission to provide recommendations to the Secretary on how we address those gaps that exist. And there will be, I'm almost certain, I'm confident in saying that there will be recommendations where congressional change will need to be a part of the solution. And our direction to the Equity Commission is, if that is the case, we still want that recommendation because we want to be able to explain to Congress why this legislative change is needed and the impact of that change not being made. We want to be able to explain to them how that's going to impact USDA being able to create an equitable department. So yes, all of those have to be part of this process, and that can only be done when we have an open conversation with the Equity Commission on the true state of USDA where we are. And it goes back to the first thing that I could find in my purview was and I'm fixing to probably jog some memory for some of my older farmers, but in 1965, right after the civil rights laws were, the modern civil rights law, the Voting Bill Act was passed, there was a Civil Rights Commission that looked at the equity, if you will, of USDA. And there was some pretty stinging charges in that. It was 1965. And if you go to the Jackson-Lewis study that was done in what, 2009, 10? No, it was actually,
yes, right.
Yeah. There are some similarities between those two. 1965, 2000, let's say 2010 Jackson-Lewis study. There's some things that still need to be addressed. I think the Equity Commission would be in a better position to make those recommendations if they had an awareness that those kinds of things existed. And then there were studies in between, the Civil Rights Implementation Team, the CRAT report that we've heard about. There are several studies out there, certain congressional reports. All of that has to be a part of this process. So they have information that helps them understand the importance of what they're trying to do, and all that has to be brought in. That kind of segues into the second question of how these findings will make its way through this process. All of those things, as well as a lot of things that we've been able to discover and implement in this year that we've been working at this, has to be part of the process, which leads us into the third question on the Farm Bill. You know, we've got a Farm Bill coming up in 2023. My hope, my desire, one objective of this is that, you know, we'll be able to take things from the departmental effort on racial equity, from the Equity Commission, and put things in place that will impact funding levels in the next Farm Bill. I mean, that's how important this is. The Secretary recognizes the need for that, and that's where we're trying to go with this. Thanks for the question.
Dr. Goldman, this is Albert. This is Albert. We have a question in the chat room. It's from Sylvia Brown. it says codified equity so it doesn't go away within another administration is important. I believe she would like for you to comment on that, or what are we doing towards codifying equity?
That was I think that might have been there either right before or right after I made the comment about Albert doing things that are more permanent. You know, for us to do things that span this administration and then are cut out, that's not the goal here. So we've got to make changes, demonstrate the positive impact of those changes, so that it's very plain to see that this is needed regardless of the administration. In fact, when we do this the right way, you know, any administration should be hard pressed to take these improvements away, because we should be able to demonstrate a more equitable distribution of programs and services to our customer base, and the creation of a U.S. agricultural system that is better after those improvements than it was before. And I think those are the kinds of things that we need to be focused on to make sure that these things can stand the test of time. So thanks for the question.
Dr. Goldman, let me say we really appreciate you for your presentation and information you provided here. And again, you know, the intent is to make this session of this event one that will provide more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, more than anything, understanding where we are now within USDA and steps that are being taken to forward as it relates to both equity and equality, and of course, consistent with the theme for our conference, a reason for hope. We're going to move now into the panel discussion. I know you may have seen on the agenda that we would have a break, and if everybody's in accordance with me, we're going to go to the panel discussion. And the first session on the panel is with USDA NRCS, Mr. Mike Sullivan, and he's the state conservationist for Natural Resource Conservation Services. Is Mr. Sullivan on?
Dr. King, can I say one thing before, because I've got to go. I did put my information in the chat box. Several people, I think I saw what people were asking, and I put that in the chat box. I just wanted to thank ALCDC for allowing me this opportunity. So thank you all.
Well, Dr. Goldman, we really appreciate you. You have really provided a lot of information for us, particularly with the new initiatives and how things move forward. And from what we're seeing, and now it affects us both at the local level and have major benefits, opportunities for us at this level. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
We're going to now turn it over. The first panel session is going to be with Natural Resource Conservation Service. I see we have Mr. Mike Sullivan on, State Conservationist, and we also have with us Mr. Reginald Jackson. Gentlemen, we're going to turn it over to you all at this point now.
Good morning, everyone, and we're enjoying the presentation. Thank you, Dr. Goldman, for your information and your insight. It is a pleasure for us to be here with NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. NRCS helps Arkansans, producers, farmers, ranchers, foresters conserve our valuable natural resources. We provide services to all our private landowners who are interested in restoring and enhancing our sprawling landscape across Arkansas through a unique partnership with landowners and conservation districts, state and local governments, rural and urban citizens. And we are proud to be working with ALCDC, the assistance that we've been able to provide to landowners with the partnership that we have. Today, in addition to our distinguished leader of Arkansas Natural Resources Conservation Service, we will also be having input from several of our members on our team. In addition to Mike, joining Mike today will be Mr. Clyde Williams, who is our acting state conservationist for programs, Mr. Randy Childress, who is our assistant state conservationist for easements, and Ms. Amanda Mathis, who is our assistant state conservationist for partnerships. So to begin this panel discussion on equity, conservation, resource opportunities for rural and urban agriculture, I'd like to introduce our leader who has been leading Arkansas NRCS since 2009. He's a 41-year member of the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, and I would like to say a good friend, as well as a good friend to conservationists all over, and a leader within our organization. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Sullivan.
All right, thanks, Reggie. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes, sir.
And glad to be with everyone today, and tough act to follow after hearing Dr. Goldman. It's such a pleasure to have him representing us in USDA at the highest level, focusing on equity. Really appreciate the work that he's done here within the state, in that he developed his own farm as a model farm to help show others how conservation pays. So really appreciate the leadership that he's provided. I know we have limited time here. I'm going to provide some general comments, and then we're going to have our program managers talk a little bit more in detail about the programs and services that they offer. So Reggie, help us watch the time. Hopefully at the end, we'll still have time for a few questions as well. We really appreciate the partnership with ALCDC. They've been an integral conservation partner for many years in our outreach and technical assistance efforts for beginning, limited resource farmers, veterans, ranchers, and even local communities. We've got a long history of working together. It actually predates me as state conservationist. I know we've talked before, Dr. King, this goes back 35 to 40 years maybe, when this partnership was established to help NRCS reach the underserved, and I think initially working on alternative crops. It's been alive and well since then, with growing collaboration and trust over the past decade. Working together, we've helped change the culture, working with agricultural producers through initiatives such as the Strike Force Initiative, reaching out and ensuring producers have access to NRCS programs. Again, ALCDC has been a great partner, helping to address strategic issues and needs as they've been identified. A few examples: ALCDC's Youth Enterprise and Careers in Agriculture program has been a great program for us in terms of recruiting to the agency. We have several employees who have come through the program and are now employees with us. And this provides a real world experience to minority youth in careers in agriculture. It allows students to serve as interns with NRCS and other USDA agencies, and to receive training and work experience in conservation and farm operations. We've had at least a couple of agreements working together on air property issues. And I know that's been a topic here several different times during conferences. It's been a major barrier for some producers to become eligible for our programs. These agreements have provided additional resources for producers so they can get advice to get their issues resolved, and then to be able to participate in our programs. Another example is technical assistance for micro and urban farms. Through this agreement, there's been extra efforts to identify and recruit minority producers, urban rural farmers, and assist them in becoming successful small farmers with access to USDA NRCS services. And this includes technical assistance and training along with it. So real rich history and past and how we've worked together, and lots of opportunities moving ahead. Similar to what Dr. Goldman mentioned in terms of some of the highest priorities, things we are working on include equity and inclusion, urban conservation, and climate smart agriculture and forestry. On the equity inclusion side, over the last 10 years, with our primary working lands program, EQIP, funding for minority producers has been more than double the population percentage of minorities. In other words, we have about 5% of our producers are minorities, and 10% or more of the EQIP funding over the last decade has gone for minorities. In the last year for EQIP, more than 50% of our funds went to historically underserved, which also includes beginning farmers and ranchers. We're also working to accelerate assistance in other programs. We've done extensive outreach and set aside funding in our easement programs. We're working to expand outreach and opportunities to address persistent flooding in rural communities as well. There was a national announcement last month of selections for $50 million in NRCS equity conservation agreements. Of that national announcement, there were more than 10 of those proposals that included work that will be done in Arkansas with funding to partners like ALCDC. So really appreciate those partners helping to ensure here in Arkansas we're getting our fair share of those agreements and support. We also recently established a new outreach, equity, and inclusion committee, subcommittee under our state technical committee. ALCDC is a part of that, and we're looking to address questions to continue to improve, like how do we continue to build trust among groups, organizations, communities, and producers? How can we continue to provide better outreach so more people know who we are and how they can benefit? So we're pretty excited about that as well. We also established a new subcommittee for urban conservation. There's lots of interest there, lots of ideas. We know we're already working in the metro areas of Little Rock and Fort Smith, but we've got a lot of interest for high tunnels in and around smaller communities as well. We expect this interest to grow, not only for high tunnels, but supporting urban farming, farmers markets, and addressing food deserts. Dr. Goldman also mentioned the announcement of the $1 billion investment for partnerships for climate smart farmers, ranchers, and forest land owners through this new partnership for climate smart commodities. And there's a lot of money there, a lot of opportunity. And what we've looked at here from a conservation standpoint, many of the practices that the producers need to be productive also provide benefits for climate in reducing greenhouse gases. So practices such as cover crops, soil health practices, irrigation water management for rice, and even forestry practices fit in. Arkansas has been at the front with a pilot effort, and I think you'll hear a little more from Clyde on that. So big opportunities with that announcement. We hope to see some partners submitting proposals. We continue to see a large demand for our services across all programs. So hopefully the word is getting out. And we've made great progress in expanding services to underserved, including minority producers and communities. We really appreciate the work from Dr. King and his staff for supporting NRCS and helping us to get the word out and collaborating with us. With support from ALCDC and other partners, there is great reason for hope and optimism as we look to the future. So Reggie, back to you, or whoever the next speaker may be.
Thank you, Mike. And we will now move on to our next presenter, and that will be Mr. Clyde Williams. Clyde is our acting assistant state conservationist for programs. So Clyde, I turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Reggie. Good morning, everyone. I want to talk a little bit, echo some of what Mike said and go into just a little bit more detail on what we offer with NRCS broadly, and also some things specific here to Arkansas. So first, I want to touch on our NRCS programs. We offer them to everyone, and within everyone, we include our historically underserved producers. And with the HU, what we commonly refer to them as, those categories, we have 4 different types of historically underserved producers. We have our beginning farmers and ranchers. Those are the producers who are new to farming or ranching and have operated a farm or ranch less than 10 years. We have our socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers who are members of a group whose members have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice because of their identity as members of the group. Inside of the social disadvantaged farmer rancher category, we have several groups, including American Indians or Alaskan Natives, Asians, Blacks or African Americans, Native Hawaiians or other Pacific Islanders, as well as Hispanics. And another HU category that we have, veteran farmers and ranchers. That includes those who have served in the armed forces and have not operated a farm or ranch for less than 10 consecutive years. And lastly, our limited resource farmers and ranchers includes those who have a household income at or below the national poverty level. So as we begin to talk about the different types of assistance that we have two different types of assistance that we provide, including our technical assistance as well as our financial assistance. And everything begins with the technical assistance with the conservation plan. The conservation plan, it's actually a starting point for managing the natural resources on a farm or ranch while maintaining production and meeting the producer's goals. As I mentioned, having this conservation plan is really the first step in order to get things in line to address the producer's concerns. And after we have that conservation plan in place, then we begin to look at which financial assistance avenue that we can go through to address those concerns or provide some assistance. And we start off with EQIP. EQIP, our flagship program, it provides ag producers and non-industrial forest managers with financial resources and one-on-one help to plan and implement the improvements. So we take those practices, the conservation practices that you may have inside of your conservation plan, and then we attach some financial assistance dollars to them. And going back to specifically addressing and helping out we're adding assistance, providing assistance to our historically underserved. One of our key fund codes and things that we operate here in NRCS Arkansas refer to it as keeping it in the family. The Sustainable Forestry African American Land Retention Project is a program that we use to assist African American forest landowners in managing their forest land. And this partnership began back in 2016. University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and NRCS continue to have a mutual interest in assisting the landowners within Arkansas. The intent of the partnership is to help identify barriers and to further help frame solutions to barriers that hinder the access to forest land sustainability. Arkansas NRCS in 2017 established a funding pool called Strike Forest Healthy Forest, as we commonly refer to as keeping it in the family. And since that time, Arkansas forestry producers have increased by more than 100%. So that is a stat that we're quite proud of. And also we've obligated over $496,000 in those strike forest counties from 2017 to 2021. And another funding category opportunity that we had that Mike briefly touched on was our Climate Smart Ag and Forestry pilot that we had last year. Arkansas was one of the few states that was actually involved in this pilot last year. And what we did through that pilot, we offered financial assistance through EQIP to our historically underserved participants and producers in several of our lower Mississippi Delta counties. Through that, we offered practices in a soil health category as well as a rice category. As a matter of fact, Arkansas was the only state to offer the financial assistance inside of the rice climate mitigation category. So we had quite a bit of success with that. And right now we're looking at building off last year's successes and looking at how do we make it even better for this year as we implement it in FY22. And touching on urban, we continue to have the opportunities through our seasonal high tones, as Mike mentioned, along with those supporting practices, as well as funding opportunities through alternative crop. So that's primarily what we do with EQIP. And now touching on CSP a little bit. When we look at CSP, we look at CSP as being an advanced level conservation. And through CSP, we actually implement enhancements, and enhancements are plainly put in advanced level of a conservation practice. So after our producers and our landowners and farmers have had some time to build upon conservation through EQIP. We then want to try to transition and move them over to CSP to get that higher level of conservation. And through CSP, we actually have funds that we set aside for our beginning farmer ranchers and our socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. So inside those funding accounts and funding pools, the beginning farmer ranchers are only competing against other beginning farmer ranchers, and the socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers are only competing against those who qualify as a socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. So that is a brief, well, I hope it's detailed overview of our programs, and I will turn it back over to Reggie.
Thank you very much, Clyde, and we appreciate that information. And we will move on to our next presenter, and he is Mr. Randy Childress. He is our Assistant State Conservationist for easements. So Randy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Reggie. I appreciate it. It's nice to be with y'all today. Sorry some of you are having this weather issue, but our easement program is once again really strong in Arkansas. We're one of the top programs in the country. The program in FY 2022 received the #1 allocation in the nation for our general wetland reserve easement program of over $14 million. New to our program this year, and under Mike's leadership and the approval of the state technical committee, there was a set aside of 10% of that allocation to go towards limited resource and socially disadvantaged applicants. We're really proud of that, and we have a list of applications. We're about to make selections by the end of this month. We also, in our easement programs, have what's called a REP, which is the Wetland Restoration Enhancement Partnership Program, where partners put proposals together and bring them forth. And we have 2 awarded in FY 22. One of them is the Tri-State Rep, and so that's Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas that came through the Nature Conservancy. It was approved for $5 million, and in that rep, there's a historically underserved component, so that half of those acres that are purchased will be limited resource and socially disadvantaged applicants as well. The other rep that got funded and awarded is called the Bachelorland Rep, which essentially is land in between the Mississippi River levees that comes through the Mississippi Land Trust. It's for all 3 states as well, and there's an HU component in it as well. So we have a lot of ways to fund limited resource and socially disadvantaged applicants. So we're really proud of that, and that's new to our program. Along with the easement program, we also manage the watershed program. This year, we received funding to develop 2 preliminary investigation and feasibility reports through our watershed program. Many of y'all might recognize the program back from the 60s and 70s. It's been refunded. And so we performed that in conjunction and coordination with some locally led producers, locally led conservation district boards, mayors, county judges, and that's in Lee and Phillips County, which were identified as limited resource areas. We also went into St. Francis County and requested funds to perform an additional investigations in that county on multiple watersheds. These are going to be planning efforts that will enhance and benefit local communities that need help, socially disadvantaged and limited resource communities as identified. And these funds are being brought to us through the Infrastructure and Jobs Bill Act. There was $500 million nationwide set aside, and so we're hoping to bring some of that to Arkansas over this next month. We've just recently started looking at over 20 plus communities in the state through the Arkansas Black Mayors Association and the Arkansas Black Legislative Caucus. They brought these to our attention, and so that effort has begun, and will within this next month be requesting funds to touch those communities as well. So it's been fast and furious. We also had by January the 19th had requested funding from headquarters to continue design and construction phases on both of our large scale irrigation projects, the Biomeda irrigation project and the White River or the Grand Prairie irrigation project. So we're hoping those funds hit our doors and we can continue on with these programs as equitably as we can. So thank you, Reggie.
Thank you very much, Randy. And we will now move on to our Assistant State Conservationist for Partnerships, and that is Ms. Amanda Mathis. So Amanda.
Thank you, Reggie. It's nice to be with everyone today. Like Dr. King mentioned, we certainly would love to be there in person, and someday I have a full hope and faith that we're going to be able to be back together in person again. We're looking forward to that. This morning, I just want to share a little bit about our Regional Conservation Partnership Program. It's a very unique program for us at NRCS. It's a very partner-driven program, and it has a unique aspect in that its critical feature is really a co-investment approach. So what that means is that partners come together and they put together a project and leverage non-federal resources to help our federal funds go further and get more conservation on the ground. And so it's built around kind of 4 key principles. Good RCPP projects are going to have an impact that has a really compelling conservation solution to an issue. There are, of course, partner contributions. Those can be either in kind or cash contributions, but they are a critical element of the approach that helps us look at really value added contributions that help us get more conservation out on the landscape. They propose innovative conservation solutions to the issues, and they work within a partnership approach where there's multiple organizations that have a history of working with agricultural producers to implement on the ground work. So those are the 4 kind of key principles of our CPP: the impact, the partner contributions, the innovation, and the partnership and management aspects. So successful projects always tend to bring an array of financial and technical capabilities. It's not just about those dollars, but also if the partners have unique expertise and experience that they can lend to us to help us reach more folks or get targeted conservation technical assistance in the hands of producers. They're going to demonstrate that history and experience of working with ag producers, and they're going to propose those innovative, sustainable, and measurable approaches so that we can really document the conservation outcomes. Now, ever since the 2014 Farm Bill, there has been an annual call for proposals and a notice of funding that goes out. And that gives the annual allocation that's going to be set up for new RCPP projects. And our partners respond to that call, requesting an RCPP project. And so they're going to identify their project area. They're going to identify the resource concerns, the financial assistance activities that they want to implement through the project, what kind of technical assistance activities they're going to be doing. They define the goals for the project. They define those partner contributions, those really value added things that they're going to bring. And they respond to a series of narrative questions. And all of that information is used and evaluated under a technical review. And then the projects are awarded. And once they're awarded, that's when it really starts to impact our local producers, because that's what makes the opportunity there for local producers in the defined project areas to apply for assistance. And so our CPP works quite differently than EQIP or CSP or even our easement programs, as Randy mentioned. RCPP projects are not generally statewide. They're very project specific. So that depends on what the proposal was. Often it's a watershed boundary. Sometimes it's a boundary like a county or a few counties together. It depends on what the partnership is hoping to achieve and what the project objectives are. And so again, that all works through partners responding to a call for proposals. There is a call for proposals out right now that partners are responding to. They'll have until April the 13th to put in for new RCPP projects. And, since the inception of RCPP, there has always been a technical ranking criteria that awarded more points to projects that were focusing on socially disadvantaged and historically underserved producers. And that remains and is actually even receiving more focus in this new notice that is out on the street right now. This notice is encompassing all of those kind of three big priorities that Mike outlined earlier. So NRCS intends to make awards for new projects that focus on climate smart agriculture and forestry practices, or that are looking at urban conservation and urban needs, and those that are looking at racial justice and equity as well. So we're excited to see the new proposals come in, and hopefully Arkansas will have several competitive in that, and we'll be getting some new conservation dollars into the state to use in this targeted approach. Now, we are able through RCPP to do many of the things like we do in our other programs. So we do land management, conservation practice implementation, just like we do through EQIP or CSP. If the projects need rental-based financial assistance assessments, then that's a possibility too. That would be kind of somewhat similar to the old Conservation Reserve Program. And we also have the opportunity to do easements if that's part of an approved project, and those can include both U.S. held easements, like what Randy was speaking about earlier, or entity held easements, more like our Ag Lands easement program. All of those are available activity types under RCPP that are project dependent based on what was written up in the proposal and approved. And then there's also some opportunities on a more limited scale to do some of the public works and watershed work like Randy was describing with PL 566. Some nuances in each of those, but just to give you a flavor of the different types of activities that we can do through RCPP. We have been very blessed in Arkansas to have a number of extremely active partners who have gone out and sought after RCPP projects and have been successful in receiving those. We have, I think, about 10 active projects across the state right now, but I just wanted to touch on a couple that I think have really innovatively looked at addressing historically underserved barriers to participation. We have the East Arkansas Delta Regional Conservation Program. That is an approved RCPP project that is taking place in 4 counties in the Arkansas Delta. So St. Francis, Monroe, Lee, and Phillips County are all part of this project. And it's really unique in that it is targeting specifically working with socially disadvantaged producers and those that are working on that small and kind of micro farm scale. And so the partners involved in this project have brought some very specialized expertise. They're going to be reaching out, doing a lot of one-on-one, as well as kind of more broad outreach activities to get the producers in that 4-county area informed of the opportunity. And we'll have in the future about $5.6 million available for on-farm conservation implementation within that 4-county area. That's going to start up. The funding will be available next year. We are so excited because we have this year to be able to do a targeted effort to try and get those conservation plans in place. And Clyde talked a little bit about the importance of that conservation plan, how it serves really as a roadmap to the agricultural operation and what conservation practices are needed to make it long-term successful and sustainable. And so we have an announcement out. We're asking producers in that area to come in and sign up to get a conservation plan developed so that we can make sure those plans are very robust. They fully encompass all of the natural resource issues and priorities that the producers are looking at. And then we'll be able to roll those right into ranking and assessment for the financial assistance that will be available next year to help implement those plans. So we're really excited about that project and seeing it come to fruition and seeing the great work that's going to go on the ground in that 4-county area. And then we also have the Arkansas Mississippi Conservation and Social Consortium project that has been approved. This was quite different. It's easement based, and it's tackling, again, looking at how we reduce those barriers to socially disadvantaged producers participating in easement programs. And so this, much like what Randy was mentioning with targeted funds to go toward easements for socially disadvantaged producers, this project will do exactly that. And we'll have about $1.7 million available between Arkansas and Mississippi to acquire easements on socially disadvantaged producer operations. So we're excited about that one. RCPP offers us a really unique way to work in some targeted areas to get conservation on the ground and really try and provide that dedicated one-on-one assistance to help producers overcome any barriers and be able to have access to financial assistance to achieve their conservation goals. So that's kind of a real high-level overview of RCPP. We are excited about the projects we have here in Arkansas and seeing more come online. I'll finish up by transitioning a bit and talking about some of our work that we do through cooperative and contribution agreements. And that's something where on an annual basis for the last several years, we have made available some technical assistance dollars where we ask partner organizations to propose projects to us to help us use those technical assistance dollars to address some gaps in our service. And so for the last several years, we have had a standing emphasis area where we were looking for projects that could help us do more and better and targeted outreach to address some of the challenges of program awareness, making sure that our historically underserved groups are aware of NRCS services and programs. We're looking for partners that can come on board and help address not only that awareness barrier, but also serve in a role to kind of help those producers navigate as they work within RCS to apply for programs. And we've seen that very successfully done. Mike's already mentioned 3 different projects that ALCDC is directly involved in that we have been able to help through these contribution and cooperative agreements to address some of those barriers. And we're very proud of our partnership with ALCDC and what we've been able to accomplish with their partnership. And so we will be seeing another call for proposals coming out here really soon. And we'll be encouraged to see other conservation partners come in and propose additional projects that will help us reach out to historically underserved producers and to historically underserved communities to really tap into all of NRCS's programs that are available and make sure that we are getting them distributed as widely, as effectively, and as equitably as possible. So just want to thank you guys again for being able to be part of this panel today and for being able to address the group with some of the things we offer through RCPP and cooperative agreements. Reggie, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Amanda. NRCS employees work in every county in Arkansas. Our district conservationists, our resource conservationists, our wetland conservationists, our soil conservationists, soil conservation technicians, engineers, biologists, agronomists, and soil scientists work hand in hand with our producers and our conservation partners to conserve natural resources on our private lands. And again, we have 61 offices across the state. So please contact one of our service centers for any assistance that you may need. We've got a few more minutes before our portion of the program is over. I'd like to open it up to our folks that are on the line. I see we've had a couple of questions in the chat. A couple were asking about Randy. So our Assistant State Conservationist for easements is Mr. Randy Childers. But I'd like to open it up for any comments for any of our state conservationists or any of our assistant state conservationists for questions that you may have. So I'll turn it over to you all.
Reginald, let me say that I know that there are a lot of questions in the chat box and comments, and I know the audience, you're receiving a lot of information at one time now. I want to go back to what the beginning of my presentation. I said, hopefully this particular event will be a building block to address the concerns, as well as to address access to information. And the building block itself is both having the information, that wisdom and that knowledge, and then an understanding on how to access those resources. So this point now, we're hopeful that this is giving you enough information on how to access these resources. We can't do it all in, not even in one full day. But knowing where the resources are, who those resource agencies are, and the contact information is also in the chat box on Natural Resource Conservation Services. If there are not any other pressing questions at this point, Albert, if someone has their hand up in the chat box, then we can receive that. Not in the chat box, if they have their hand, I'm sorry, if they have raised their hand. I'd like to try to take it there. We do have a pretty extensive agenda to get other agencies to come on. And I know I'm probably breaking up. Amanda says she's looking forward to us being in person again. So am I, Amanda. This technology and lack of some of the fiber optics and other requirements now in technology to do this makes it more challenging, particularly for our rural areas. And I'm in the rural area, so I'm hoping my presentation is coming through clear enough where you can hear me. So I'm on satellite, so I know it's unstable a lot of times, and it's cloudy in my area. If not, what I like it, and we will have hopefully time.
Dr. King.
Pardon me?
There is a question in the chat box from Sylvia Brown. She said, "That's news from Randy. Please share that again because my community, Fulton, is led by a Black mayor and we're not in that request." Evidently, it was something to do with the request that Mr. Childers had mentioned about the Black mayors group.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Brown. If you feel free to contact me at randy.childress@usda.gov. But my comment was this work that's recently been brought forward to us came from the Arkansas Association of Black Mayors and the Legislative Caucus. They provided us a list with about 31 communities that had identified with having issues that we felt like could be addressed through our 566 program funding, our watershed program. And I am not aware of how that list was compiled. We're addressing those. They also made sure that list was not completed yet. And so there's some outreach efforts on their part that are still ongoing, and we'll probably be picking up some more communities and communities that aren't led by minority mayors. So we continue to work with them, and but right now we're trying to meet the end of the month funding deadline with the list that they provided us.
Thank you, Randy.
Albert, let me Albert, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. King.
Okay, I want to say this to the audience. We'll be in the field. This is again our annual conference. We'll be doing follow-up meetings at the local level, and some of the questions you have at this point, when we're in your local area, I'm sure we'll be able to provide more specifics and details as relates to the issue or the questions that you may have at this point. And NRCS always appears on the agenda with all of our outreach meetings, and they have their resource people there to answer the questions and to pass out specific information as relates to their program area. So again, we give a lot, on this particular day. That's why we have to stay in the field. We have a meeting next month. We'll have a meeting following that month. Sometimes we do 2 meetings in one month. So if you call our office at 870-734-3005 in your local area, then we will plan and put on a meeting in your area to provide more details, be it virtually or in person. In most cases, we do some in person, as well as enabling the others to participate virtually as we are doing now. And we have the equipment to set up to do that. We sort of push for time. It's a lot of information, but I want to move to the next area on our agenda. Express my appreciation to NRCS, Mike Sullivan, Reginald Jackson, Amanda, Plath, all of the presenters within NRCS. There's a lot of information. I hope this gives you a better understanding also of what Dr. Goldman was giving reference to equity and equality and program structures that are in place at the state level that is being implemented. And they said that could be implemented at the local level, provide for some of that equity and equality. And you see Arkansas has some of them in places that they're doing now, and structured also from a community perspective in an effort to do it more. So we want to now go to our next panel 2. Panel 2 is with Farm Service Agency, and we have listed on the agenda Ms. Doris Washington as the presenter on that, and she may, as NRCS did have others representing with her. But Farm Service Agency, Ms. Washington, we're going to turn it over now.
All right, thank you, Calvin. It's been a good little minute since I've seen you, so I want to say thank you for inviting me and then also the Farm Service Agency to be with you guys today. We will be sharing a little bit of information from a program overview, and then we also have our loan officer chief and our chief of programs, farm programs on line today as well, and they'll be able to assist with direct questions as needed. I am new to the position as the state executive director. Was appointed just recently on January the 3rd, 2022. However, I'm a long-term USDA employee. I worked for NRCS for over 34 years. So I do, even though I'm new to the position, hopefully my face is not new to a lot of you that are on the call today. As I begin to serve in the new role as the state executive director for the Farm Service Agency, I have to refer back to the comments that Dr. Goldman made earlier today, in stating that the racial equity and diversity inclusion is a huge part of the mission for the Biden-Harris and then also for Secretary Bill Sack. That's from a national perspective, but Arkansas is not excluded from that by any means. Arkansas has its own history dealing with agriculture across all of the USDA agencies. And this administration that's in place today would like to start a change and to put change in motion. And there's a lot of different things that Dwayne mentioned earlier that we're also going to be trying to branch on to here with Farm Service Agency coming up. So just a few of those things directly related to diversity, equity, and inclusion is we are now requiring that each county committee have a minority advisor assigned to it. And we're in the process right now for all county committees in Arkansas to have those lists of names submitted and vetted and approved by the national level. So on each one of those county committees, if there's not a minority voting member, you should be seeing an advisor that's in that minority capacity that's also assisting and sitting in on those discussions for those county committees. We're also in the process of working through our state committee. Currently, we just have one person that's appointed. However, I have been given the charge to provide nominations working across all groups here in the state of Arkansas for recommendations to up to 4 names. We currently have those names submitted to national headquarters for vetting and for approval. And we're hopeful that in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have a complete state committee that will be on board. We also talked a little bit about ARPA this morning with Dr. Goldman. As you guys know, the Farm Service Agency is the key component to working with the producers here in the state of Arkansas when it comes to the direct farm loans and then also the farm loans for the facilities, which were all part of the ARPA arrangement for that program. Again, this was a huge program that was marketed very well for the state of Arkansas for the producers. And since I've been in the seat, I can say that I've heard from many. And I want to just let you guys know today that I am committed to assisting the landowners, the farmers and the producers throughout this process. Currently, as Dr. Goldman mentioned, the program is on pause due to the litigation. However, we do have folks that are available in the in the county offices, and then also at the state level that can and will assist you if you have questions about the process, any of the activities that are taking place with your loans now as you're working with your financial institutions. If there's anything there that we can answer questions on directly related to ARPA, please let us know, and I'll be putting my information in the chat as well. And feel free to contact me directly. Just sharing a little bit more depth on from a state perspective for ARPA. For the direct loans, we have probably a little bit over 1,200 in our tracker listed for the state of Arkansas, and about 69 that are listed for the farm facilities loan portion of ARPA. So we have a pretty good participation rate across the state. So definitely that's going to be high on my radar as we're pushing forward and moving through and making sure that we're providing the services that we need. We've also partnered with RMA to assist them in their pandemic cover crop program. I believe that runs through March the 15th, and you'll hear a little bit more about that, I'm sure, as we go on. But if there's assistance that's needed there from the Farm Service Agency for any farm numbers or establishments there, our staff is available to help you as well. So I am going to stop right there, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Danny Hoots, who's my acting executive officer right now. And Danny's going to be going through the FSA programs, just giving you a general overview. And then Calvin, we also, like I mentioned before, have our farm programs chief and then our farm loan chief on board too, to answer any questions that folks might have. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Danny. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. As mentioned, we do have Lori Lavender, which is the Farm Loan Program Chief. And we have Terry McManus, which is the Farm Programs Chief, to help answer any technical questions that you may have. With that, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Can I ask, am I being heard, Ms. Washington? Okay, all right, thank you. I am going to share my screen. Sometimes the technical aspect, whenever you're working from home, just as we've all been experiencing, doesn't work as well as we hope. So I wanted just to double check that. I am sharing my screen right now with a slide presentation to make sure that each individual will be able to see what we're talking about, and hopefully that will help facilitate the information, and maybe you can take some notes. And it's also going to be listed in the chat box. Is Miss Rhonda O'Gwen, our outreach specialist, is also on online, and she will be providing information in the chat. And she may have to come in if I miss a question, because as you can see, I'm not able to see the chat box right now. Farm Service Agency is a part of the USDA that provides direct support to farmers and ranchers and other agricultural partners to help provide food, fuel, and fiber to Americans and the people worldwide. A few fun facts about Arkansas. We have over 49,000 farms in Arkansas, and 97% of those are family owned. Also, agriculture provides about $16 billion to the state economy each year. And on a side note, in 2021, FSA provided direct payments and loans totaling over $1.9 billion to the farmers and ranchers in the state of Arkansas. Arkansas is third in cotton production and first in rice production. We have over 14.5 million acres that are workable as farmland, and then over 18.7 million forest land. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the resources that we have for new and beginning farmers and ranchers. I'll explain how to obtain a farm number. I'll go over some of the programs that we have, for both in farm programs and farm loans, and then provide additional informational resources that you can use to research programs that we have. If you're new to farming, USDA and FSA can help you with reaching your goals by providing a variety of programs and services. As you heard earlier, I believe it was Mr. Williams that explained that USDA defines a beginning farmer or rancher as a person or legal entity that has not operated a farm or a ranch for more than 10 years. For legal entities to be considered a beginning farmer, all members must be related by blood or marriage and must be beginning farmers. One of your first steps is a beginning farmer interested in getting into farming and ranching would be to contact your local FSA office. You can find your local office at www.farmers.gov. Also, consider the vision that you have for your land and your farm, and what are some of the challenges that you may be facing, and so that those at your local office can help you address those. We also offer programs to historically underserved, which is beginning, socially disadvantaged, limited resource, and military veterans. And in addition, women in agriculture is priorities for us. Again, you can visit www.farmers.gov for information on the programs that we have available, and even some of those that I may not mention here today. It's been mentioned a couple of times about urban agriculture. This is a new innovative process that we are all getting involved with, as individuals in urban and suburban settings are interested in providing local food for the community and helping people understand where their food comes from. Urban agriculture includes things such as warehouse farms, community gardens, rooftop farms, hydroponic, aeroponics, and aquaponic facilities. If you are an organic farmer, or you are interested in transitioning from a traditional conventional farm to organic farmer, you can apply for the same programs as everyone else, and you may also apply for USDA to pay a portion of your organic certification through our organic certification cost share program. For other conservation assistance, you've heard from NRCS. And you may contact your local NRCS office for more information on those particular programs. A big thing in order to participate in any USDA program, and that includes FSA or NRCS, is obtaining a farm number. If you've never worked with USDA before, you must register your farm in order to be eligible for farm programs, including NRCS programs such as EQIP. They're looking for a farm number. There is no minimum acreage in order to have a farm or to register as a farm. In order to get that farm number, we encourage you to contact your local FSA office and make an appointment. You can expect that establishing a farm number appointment is going to last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. You will be asked to provide your address and your social security number or tax ID number if you are operating your farm as an entity. The first thing that your local FSA office will do is locate the ground in our GIS system to make sure that there's not a number associated with that farm already. If you've recently purchased your land, or you own it and may not have come into the FSA office before, we ask that you bring a copy of your deed so that we can find it and update the ownership records based on what the deed says. If you are not the landowner, we ask that you bring in a copy of your lease agreement to show that you have control of the property for us to be able to make you the operator and to establish that farm for you. If you are operating as an entity, that's a partnership or a corporation, LLC, you should provide proof that you have signature authority to legally enter into contracts with USDA. During your visit with us, you would most likely be asked to fill out multiple forms, or be provided these forms in order to fill them out and return them to the office at a later date. One of the forms is a CCC 941, which is the average adjusted gross income form. This form is a certification from you, the producer, that if your average adjusted gross income is more than $900,000 a year or less than $900,000 a year. Also, you be provided an AD 1026, which is a form that talks about the land that you are own or operating. It's a conservation. It ensures that there's a conservation plan for any highly erodible soils, or if wetlands have been identified in that area, to make sure that conservation compliance provisions are met on that particular piece of property. If you are operating as an entity, you may be provided a CCC 901, which is a form that lists out the individuals that make up that entity. You may be also asked or provided a CCC 902, which is for payment limitation purposes. This form, you tell us how your operation will operate the farm. We do have a beginning farmer and rancher coordinator to help direct and provide general overviews of the programs that we have and to help you find your local FSA office if needed. And that currently is me, Danny Hoots. You can contact me at danny.hoots@usda.gov. FSA has two divisions, farm programs and farm loans. The farm programs provide safety net programs, conservation reserve programs, and we also have an aerial photograph bank. Farm loans offers direct farm ownership and operating loans, guaranteed farm ownership and operating loans. We also have direct microloans, direct emergency loans, direct youth loans, and then guaranteed conservation loans. FSA does house the country's largest film library. We have more than 60,000 rows of film and over 10 million images. Some of the most popular programs that we have within Arkansas is the agriculture risk and price loss coverage, which is ARCPLC. For producers that enroll their farm into the agriculture risk coverage program, this will provide payments to the farmers when the actual revenue falls below the expected revenue. For the price loss coverage, if you've enrolled into the PLC program, the payments would be issued if the actual price falls below the established price. FSA, from time to time, will have a wildlife and hurricane indemnity program. For Arkansas, that's considered the WIP Plus program. We are expecting that at some time in the near future to have this program going again, and it provides disaster payments to agriculture producers to offset losses from hurricanes and wildfires and other natural disasters. We also have a non-insured crop disaster assistance program, or NAP for short, which provides a type of crop insurance for crops that would be non-insurable from a conventional crop insurer. This typically includes fruits and vegetables, maybe haying, grazing, things of that nature where a conventional crop insurance would not be available. FSA does provide that type of insurance to help protect against loss of inventory or preventing planting due to natural disasters. For the livestock, we do have a livestock indemnity program, which pays producers for livestock deaths in excess of normal mortality or injury due to an eligible adverse weather event or an attack by an animal that's been reintroduced to the wild by the federal government. We also have emergency assistance for livestock, honeybees, and farm-raised fish, which is ELAP for short. It pays producers for losses due to diseases or certain other adverse weather events or conditions, including blizzards or wildfires, as determined by the Secretary. We have a tree assistance program for individuals who have orchards or nursery trees to help replace or rehabilitate eligible trees, bushes, and vines that are lost to natural disasters, including hurricanes and wildfires. We also have the Margin Protection Program, which is a dairy program that is a voluntary risk management program that offers protection when the all milk price and the average feed cost falls below a certain dollar amount that has been selected by the producer. Farm loans, we have funds that target beginning farmers and ranchers, and these loans provide credit opportunities to eligible family farms and ranch operators and owners who have been in business for less than 10 years. We have emergency loans, which help farmers and ranchers recover from production and physical losses due to drought, flooding, and other natural disasters or quarantine. It is the eligible loan amount is 100% of the actual or physical loss, or up to $500,000 maximum. We also have direct operating loans, which is typically used to provide purchase items such as livestock feed or livestock themselves, seed, farm equipment, fuel, seed, chemical, fertilizer, insurance, and pay for some family living expenses and make minor improvements. The loan max is currently $400,000 with a maximum of a 7-year term limit, depending on how the funds would be used. We also have micro loan programs that provide up to $50,000 loan limit, and depending on the use of funds, a maximum of 25 years repayment. This particular loan program is designed to meet the needs of small and beginning farmers or non-traditional or specialty crop farmers by easing some of the eligibility requirements and offering less paperwork. Direct farm ownership loans is a $600,000 loan limit with a maximum of 40-year term repayments. It's used to purchase or expand a farm or ranch, construct new or improved existing farm and ranch buildings. This particular loan program, the direct farm ownership loan program, does have some eligibility requirements that are different from the other loan requirements, and that includes 3 out of the last 10 years farming experience. FSA also participates in the guaranteed loan program where a producer can get a loan through a commercial lender at normal rates and terms. And then FSA would back that loan with the bank, providing up to protecting that bank and that loan up from loss from up to 95%. We also have a youth loan program that can be used for people ages 10 to 20 years old who participate in 4-H clubs, FFA, or any other similar organization. And the money should be used to finance an educational, income-producing, agricultural-related project. And that's a $5,000 loan limit and a maximum of 7-year term. FSA supports the full participation of minority and women family farmers in loan programs by targeting a portion of its direct and guaranteed farm ownership and operating loan funds for minority and women farmers to buy and operate a family farm and ranch. Some new programs that we've come up with in the last couple of years is the ability for farmers and ranchers to enroll into a farmers.gov account. You simply go to farmers.gov/sign-in and create an account and verify your identity. Then you can contact your local FSA office to link your records. Once your records have been linked, you will be able to access your farm data from FSA in real time. And that includes viewing, printing, and exporting farm records such as cropland, base acre, yield, CRP acres, land ownership details. You could also export or print or view your farm track maps. These can be printed and used for lenders or chemical and fertilizer or other management decisions for your behalf. Also used for FSA crop reporting. We highly encourage everyone. I think it's been talked about multiple times about the need for local community participation in our programs and getting the word out and making sure equitable treatment of everyone. And one of the ways to make sure that is done is for everyone to participate in our county committee elections. And these county committees are a critical component of FSA, and it helps allow grassroots input for local administrations of our federal programs. FSA no longer sends out hard copy newsletters as we did years ago. Everything is now done electronically. So if you're not getting information from FSA, then we ask that you contact your local county office, or you can visit fsa.usda.gov/subscribe and enroll into our programs where you can receive these newsletters and bulletins that will keep you up to date as to any programs, deadlines, and other outreach events that may be coming up. You can also choose to receive text messages. We will not overburden you with multiple text messages a month. Each county is allowed to send no more than 2 per month on average. You can see a little example here is going to be a straight to the forward that maybe a deadline is coming up. It was mentioned before about the March 15th. ARC POC election deadline is March the 15th, and you may receive a text message, something similar to that, 1 or 2 sentences. You can send a text to FSA Now, and in the text message body, put AR and then the county that you want to enroll with. You can get answers to the questions that you may have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by visiting ask.usda.gov. There is a database of frequently asked questions and answers by USDA experts. And if you do not see an answer to your particular question, you can submit the question and then be notified when that answer has come in. This allows you to, at any time at your convenience, get answers to the questions that you may have. Right now, all FSA offices are able to visit with customers by appointment in the office, or you can contact your local office by phone or email and work with them. But in order to come into an FSA office and sit down and speak with a person, an FSA employee, it is by appointment only currently due to COVID protocols. So you can visit office, the link listed here below. It's rather long, but I'll call it out: offices.sc.egov.usda.gov/locator/app. And you can find your local FSA office, call that office or email and set up an appointment, or you can work with them by phone or email, your choice. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions if there are any. Well, let me stop sharing. Rhonda, were there any questions that I may have missed, or has any, I don't know that there's been any questions come in.
Danny, good morning, everyone. I didn't see any. I tried to put the fact sheets for whatever topic you were talking about, which will give them a lot of detailed information. But of course, if anyone has any questions, in addition to what they find on the fact sheets, they're more than welcome to contact us.
Okay. I think our goal was to have about 10 minutes at the end of our presentation for any questions and answers that we have. And so, I may be about 4 minutes ahead of schedule. So with that, Dr. King, I'll turn it back to you. If you have any questions, or if any questions come into the chat box, or however you want to move forward as we wait to see any kind of questions and answers that we may have. Again, we do have the chiefs available to help answer any technical questions that may come in.
Okay, Danny, Ms. Washington, we really appreciate the presentation from Service Agency. I do want to mention one thing. I don't think you gave reference to it. As it stands right now, the Secretary of Agriculture, USDA, has issued a discontinuation of any actions toward foreclosure on delinquent loans, those individuals who may be behind on their payments, and that's both for the regular direct loan, and for the storage facilities. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. So FSA is not taking any actions to collect or foreclose on any debts that involve our direct loan programs or a farm storage facility farm loan programs. Now, to help clarify something, and you may not be going here, but to help clarify something, if a producer who is behind on a loan currently, even though FSA is not taking any action at this time, if they are requesting a new loan for 2022, if they're in the process right now working with the county office to get a new loan for their 2022 operation, it is a requirement that they bring the delinquency of their direct farm loan current, and that may be through a servicing action, but it cannot be delinquent and a new loan be closed at the same time. So that would have to be addressed, but otherwise we are not taking any foreclosure or collection actions at this time.
Okay, and then I'm assuming that you're saying if they're going in for a new loan for continuing operation 2022, they have a loan package in at this point. Prior to that loan being made, then they must go through a debt servicing debt servicing, which may include restructuring of debt. Well, I guess you would really be limited, my assumption at this point, to debt restructuring, because on one of the debt servicing areas, if you apply that, then you're ineligible for continuation of financing. If you apply debt write down, am I correct?
I apologize. I think you cut out on me, and so I believe your question was to the everything is going to be available for servicing actions to bring the account current, and we would be working, from the local office. And if there's any question, if the local office has any question, or if a producer has any questions about their servicing options to bring that debt current, and as you did say, I did hear clearly that if they're making a new loan or requesting a new loan right now or in 2022 to continue their operation, what options are available to them, we will work with them in that local office, and if they have a question as to that availability, they can contact us or work to that local office to see what is available. But it will be provided to them in writing, some of the options that they have to make maybe the best selection. But yes, restructuring is going to be the most common one that is provided and that they look at in order to bring that loan current, and to continue with the closing of the new loan.
Mr. Hoots, Albert Jones, I have a question from the chat room. It's from Lavelle Foots. What is the status of visiting a USDA field service center at this time?
Okay. So without knowing which state he is in, he'll have to contact the local office, but because each state is provided I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's in Arkansas. It's Arkansas.
Okay. All right. So for the state of Arkansas, now you need to contact each local offices, but weekly, each county is provided a status of where they're at based on the most recent COVID cases for that county. And our latest that we had over the weekend that came out for Arkansas is that all FSA service centers may have a visitor by appointment only. So there needs to be an appointment made either by phone or email for a specific date and time in order for a producer to be able to enter the facility.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hoots.
I really apologize. I have a bad connection. I'm on satellite. It's cloud here. So I hope you can hear me. I want to express my appreciation to Mr. Washington and all the staff of Farm Service Agency for being a part of our agenda. If we have any time at the end, those are on. If there are other questions, then we'll try to respond to those accordingly, and hopefully the agency representative will still be on then. If not, we will do our best to address those questions. We're going to move now to our final phase of the panel session, and this is with the USDA Rural Development and Small Business Administration. and this is dealing with resource opportunities for community economic development. And I know, again, as I say to the audience, you know, we're trying to do a lot in a short period of time, but again, need the information, and the questions that are not answered, you know, contact our office at 870-734-3005, and we will respond accordingly. We have, as our first presenter is USDA Rural Development, Ms. Kathy Harris, that will be presenting. Ms. Harris, are you on?
Yes, Kevin, I'm on. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes.
I am Kathy Harris, filling in for the Acting State Director, Tim Smith. For those that do not know me, I am the Acting Director for the Ford City Service Center, Rural Development Ford City Service Center. And I've been in this position approximately 2 years. However, I am a long-term employee with Rural Development with 36 years plus months. I will be on this morning sharing a little information about our USDA Rural Development programs through our agency. Excuse me. I will start out with the business program, which is administered in our state office by Tim Smith. He's also the program director of the business program. And I would like to give a little information about this. However, I do not administer this program, and it falls in line with the farmers. The business program provides, financial backing and technical assistance to stimulate the business growth. The program works through partnership with the public and private communities-based organizations and financial institutes to provide financial assistance, business development, and technical assistance to rural businesses. These programs help provide capital, equipment, space, job training, and entrepreneur skills that can help start and grow businesses. Business program also support creation and preservation of quality jobs in the rural areas. The loans are loan guarantees, and grants are available to individuals, businesses, cooperative farmers, ranchers, public bodies, nonprofit corporations, Native American tribes, and private companies in the rural communities. Financial resources of the business programs are often leveraged with those of other public and private sources, lenders to meet business and credit needs in underserved areas. The funding is intended to improve the qualities of life in the rural communities by enhancing economic opportunities and ensuring self-sustainability for generations to come. And under the business program, they have several. Business and industry loan guarantee, the energy program, higher blend infrastructure incentive program, intermediary lending program, rural business development grant, rural business investment program, rural cooperative development grant, rural economic development loan and grant, rural micro entrepreneur assistance program, socially disadvantaged group grants, and value-added producer grants. And for more information on the B&I program, you can contact Tim Smith, the program director, at 501-301-3280 or tim.smith@usda.gov. And I do not administer the program, but I have became familiar with a couple of things that they do there, because in our area, if the application request is in our area that we cover, sometimes we have to go out and do inspections. And I've learned about the REAP program as far as the solo arrays for farmers. I did have that experience to visit a farm where the farmer installed the solar arrays, which will help to offset the electrical usage. And also I was experienced with another one, which are the high efficiency grain bin dryers. And that's another one of which can fall under the grant program that farmers may be interested in. Also, we have the Farm Labor Housing Direct and Loan Program. This program is no longer administered directly from my office. However, Billy Holland, who is located in Jonesboro, he is covering the 12 counties that the Ford City office covers. And if anyone is interested in the Farm Labor Housing Direct and Grant Program, can contact Billy Holland, and I'll give you that information on him. This program provides affordable financing to develop housing for year-round and migrant and seasonal domestic farm laborers. And this program assists qualified applicants who cannot obtain commercial credit on terms that would allow them to charge rents that are affordable to low-income tenants. Borrowers must have sufficient qualification and experience to develop and operate the program. The qualified applicants include Farmers Association of Farmers and Family Farm Cooperation, Association of Farm Workers and nonprofit organizations, most state and local government entities, and federally recognized tribes. And the areas housing may be constructed in urban or rural areas as long as there is demonstrated need. And the funds can be used to construct, improve, repair, purchase of housing for domestic farm laborers and primary objectives of this program. Funding may also be available for related activities, including buying and improving land, purchasing household furnishing, paying construction loan interest. And for more information on this, you can go to our Rural Development 7 CFR Part 3560.53. And the contact person is Billy Holland, billy.holland@usda.gov. His phone number is 870-972-4589. Now I'm going to go to our other programs that we administer through our local office. It's the Community Facility Grant. Community facility grants can be used to develop and improve essential public community facilities located in the rural areas of up to 20,000 in population. Funds can be used for equipment to purchase and for facility construction or improvement for projects that have not already been started. The agency will authorize the use of grant funds on a graded scale, enabling rural communities with small population and low income levels to receive a greater percentage of grant funds. Projects will be selected based on priority point system. Small communities with population of 5,000 or less and low income levels will receive a high priority. To be eligible, eligibility is limited to nonprofit organizations, public bodies, and federally recognized tribes serving rural areas. The applicants must be unable to finance the proposed project from its own resources or through commercial sources at reasonable rates and terms, have a legal authority necessary to construct, operation, and maintenance of proposed facility. If a real estate improvement are proposed, the applicant must own the estate to be improved. Proposed facilities that are necessarily for orderly community development. Facilities must be located in the community having a population of 20,000 or less. Several served areas where the median household income of the population to be served by the proposed facility is below the higher of the poverty line, or 90% of the state non-metropolitan median household income. Nonprofit organizations must demonstrate significant ties to local communities to ensure the facilities will carry out public purpose and continue to primarily serve rural areas. They must also be able to provide letter of support from each government body that would be affected by the proposed project. Along with our, the maximum grant, if eligible and grant funds are available, the level of grant assistance are up to 15%, 35%, 55%, and 75% of the eligible project costs, depending upon the review of the population where the project would be located, medium household income and the proposed service area, and a review of the applicant's current and past financial records. The applicant's available excess funds must be proposed to be used toward the project. Grant funds are limited and maximum grant is typically $50,000 or less for each project. You may obtain an application packet and file. You can contact the local rural development office in your area. My area is located in Forest City. We cover 12 counties of the state. And the contact person, you can contact my office at 870-581-4390. And my lead specialist is Betty Searcy at Betty, BETTY.Searcy, SEARCY at USDA.gov. Also, along with the community facility development grants, we also have the community facility direct loans. The direct loans, you can make direct loans to develop and improve essential public community facilities located in the rural area up to 20,000 in population. And funds can be used for equipment to purchase and for facility construction or improvement for the property that have not already been started. And we have one going on in the small town of Earl, Arkansas. We are constructing a new library there. Types of project finance: healthcare, hospital, medical clinic, mental health facilities, nursing homes, assistant living facilities, which we have one in Forest City that we finance, public safety, detention facility, 911 communication center, police and fire station and equipment, public service, courthouse, city hall, adult and child development centers, child daycare center, senior center, community center, transitional home, charter school, which we have one in Phillip County, library, museum, food pantry, farmers market, animal shelter, which is located in Phillip County, airport, street, bridges, drainage. Eligible entities are limited to public bodies such as city, town, county, public facility board, special purpose district, or other political subdivision of state, federally recognized tribe, or qualified nonprofit organization. An applicant must be able to finance the proposed project from their own resources or through commercial credit or reasonable rates and terms, have the legal authority to own, construct, operate, and maintain the proposed facility, provide for public facilities needed for orderly community development, and operate on a nonprofit basis. Nonprofit organization must demonstrate a significant tie to the local community and ensure that the facility will carry out public purpose and continue to primarily serve the rural areas. Nonprofit organizations must be able to document significant local support for the project in the form of actual dollar being contributed toward the project and must, excuse me, see, I thought it was down, I'm sorry. What did I say? And must also be able to provide letters of support for each government body that would be affected by the proposed project. In addition to the nonprofit organization, must have successfully experienced operating and managing a similar facility with successful financial history. And again, this project is also administered through the local office. The interest rate as of April 2020, I don't think it's changed, was 2.375. And the interest rate can change each quarter. And it will be a fixed term with a maximum loan term of 40 years. However, the repayment period is limited to the useful life of the facility or the equipment or any statutory limitation on the applicant's borrowing ability. And the security, what security is maintained, all loans will be secured to protect the government's interests. Each applicant must satisfactorily document the project and will be financially feasible with adequate security. Bonds or notes, pledging taxes, assessment, or revenues will be accepted as security if they meet the statutory requirements. Where state laws permit, a mortgage security agreement and financing statement will also be taken on real and personal property serving as security. Again, you can contact our office if you're interested in an application or need additional information at 870-581-4390 or my lead specialist, Betty.Cersei at USDA.gov. And those are the community facilities dealing mainly with the cities or nonprofit organization. Again, the BNI program is administered through our state. And I will give you a little information on our single family housing program, which I have been involved with for the past 30 plus years. We have the Rural Housing Direct Loan Program. This program is known as our Section 504 Direct Loan Program. And this program assists low and very low income applicants in the rural areas by providing assistance to increase the applicant's repayment ability. Payment assistance is a type of subsidy that reduces the mortgage payment for a short term, and the amount of assistance is determined by the adjusted income. And the subsidy part of the program that we administer in this program, it does not go away. However, it has to be paid back once the loan is paid in full or if the property is sold. But who may qualify for this program? There's a number of factors considered when determining the applicant's eligibility for the direct loan program. Applicants, first you must have to be without decent, safe, and sanitary housing, be unable to obtain a loan from other sources, agree to occupy the dwelling, have a legal capacity to incur the obligation, and meet the citizenship or eligibility non-citizen requirement, not be suspended or debarred from participating in federal programs. The property financed with the direct loan must be modest in size, not have a market value, in excess of the applicant's area loan limit. And at this time, the agency area loan limit. At this time, our loan limit, and I think it's going to increase, but national office haven't provided that information at this time. It is 280, up to 285,000. Not have an in-ground swimming pool and not be designed for income producing activities. Borrowers are required to repay all or a portion of the payment subsidy received, which I mentioned earlier, over the life of the loan when the title of the property is transferred or the borrower no longer living in the dwelling. Applicant must meet the income eligibility for the direct loan, and you can contact our local office to see what the income limits are. They are based on household size. To be eligible, the rural area with a population less than 35,000 are eligible. And the loan funds must be used to help the low-income individual or households purchase homes in the rural area. And funds can be used to build, repair, renovate, relocate a home, or to purchase and prepare sites, including providing water and sewage facilities. And the maximum amount of the loan is based on what the applicant's repayment ability will be. When we look at various factors such as the income, your debt, assets, and amount of payment assistance applicant may be eligible for. The interest rate on the loan at this time is 2.5. Our loan, the years on the loan are 33, and sometimes we can go up to 38. 33 years is the payback, 38 period is if an applicant afford the 33-year loan, sometimes they may be able to qualify for the 38-year loan. There's no down payment typically, and applicants with higher assets, they may be required to pay a portion of a down payment. There's no deadline to apply. You can contact the local office at any time if you have questions or would like an application, and you can also apply online. The application is online. Applicants can go to USDA ruraldevelopment.gov, and the information will be out there. And as far as how long do an application take, that varies. A lot of times it varies depending on the number of applications on hand. And at this time, it's been varying quite a long time due to limited staff. Our staffing has been limited in Arkansas. However, we are preparing a team to help provide assistance to each area in the state to process the loans. Also, we have the loan and grant, the repair loans and grants, and this program is known as the Section 504 home repair loan. This provides loans to very low income applicants or homeowners to repair, improve, or modernize their home, or provide grants to elderly, very low income homeowners to remove health and safety hazards. To qualify, you must be a homeowner and occupy the home, be able to obtain affordable credit elsewhere, have a family income below 50% of the median income. And for grants, the age is 62 years or older and not be able to repay a part of the loan. An eligible area is with a population less than 35,000, and the loan funds may be used to repair, improve, or modernize to remove health and safety hazards. However, the grant must be used to remove health and safety hazards. The maximum loan amount is $20,000. The maximum grant amount is $7,500. Loans and grants can be combined up to $27,500 in assistance. The terms of the loan to be repaid over a period of 20 years. The interest rate is 1%. Full title service is required for any loan $7,500 or more. Grants have a lifetime limit of $7,500, and grants must be repaid if the property is sold within 3 years, if the applicant can repay part back or all of the costs. Applicants may be offered a loan or grant combination. There's no deadline to apply, and to get started, again, you can contact our local rural development office or whatever area that you're in. And I think that's it on the housing. Oh, one other thing I wanted to point out on the housing for the ones that are on this meeting, or you have family members or someone that did not know, we have the American Rescue Plan that's being administered at this time for the existing rural development barriers that was affected by COVID. Instead of rural development re-amortizing delinquent debt back into the loan, which increases their principal all over again, which we still have that program going on. They came up with the American Rescue Plan. And in this plan, if an applicant or a barrier, existing barrier qualifies, it can help them lower their interest rate and also give them a new payment. I mean, a lower payment. But what we do is the amount that's behind, all of that is in, we just take the principal amount of the loan and we refinance the debt instead of putting it into the re-am. And that way, the years would be the same. However, they will have a better rate because most of the people out that has loans for a long time, they do not have the smaller rates. They may have a 7 point, whatever, 8, 9, 10, and to be able to refinance would definitely help the existing barriers to get on a better term, although the term would still be at 33 years or 38 years, whichever they qualified for. And the loan amount, the principal amount has to be at a certain amount, but we would have to review their information in order to know that. I believe that's all the information I have on the programs that we administer. And I'm open for questions, if any. And again, thank you so much, Dr. King, for the invite.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have next on our agenda, and I don't know how this ended up happening, but it has. We have Richard with SBA that'll be presenting, and Richard, we're running into a time crunch. So our speaker is pushed for time. So if we can we sort of do this in a summary manner? And I really apologize for that. But Richard with Small Business Administration, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, good. Not a problem. I will just, can I give it maybe just about 3 minutes just as a quick overview?
Oh, yes. Yes, if you can do it within the next, you got 10 minutes, Richard. I apologize. And then what I'd like to do is at the end of our lunch, at the end of our luncheon speak, I'd like to come back to you if you don't mind.
Yeah, I actually have another meeting at 1:30 that is a standing appointment, so I can respond via email if somebody has any questions, but want to thank everybody. My name is Richard Duda. I'm an outreach and marketing specialist here with the SBA district office. I did put all of our contact information here in the chat box. If you are not receiving the SBA Arkansas district office updates, I would strongly encourage you to register for that. You'll see the link in the chat box. You can register for all of our outreach events. We also promote information and updates that we get from headquarters from SBA on new programs, as well as our resource partner network that we work with. So here at the SBA district office, we really kind of have three areas of focus. One is helping small businesses learn how to contract with the federal government. The next one is access to capital. I'm a former SBA lender of many years. So Herb Lawrence in our office is our lender relations specialist. And we have a lot of different loan programs that are a little bit different than USDA. Our micro loan program is probably one that's very popular for businesses that need loans of anywhere between $500 and $50,000. Those are done through our two nonprofit lenders in the state, Forge and Communities Unlimited. We do classes on all this information each month. So as I said, register and you'll be able to attend one of the workshops. But the microloan program is for loans below $50,000. And then our regular 7A programs for standard loans. And then our 504 is for the fixed asset financing. I think the quick update I wanted to provide for the folks that are attending today is the new SBA's Community Navigators program. And that was a grant by the SBA. And something to be aware of, the SBA, we actually don't write policy. So we get to what Congress gives to us. So Community Navigators is the new grant program that was awarded by Congress to, we have the University of Arkansas Cossatot. They're one of the hubs. And then they have some spoke organizations underneath them. And then the Arkansas Small Business Technology and Development Center through UALR, they have several spokes through them. And the spokes are the ones that are the local grassroots organizations that are in those communities. Several of these are located in those rural communities. And they will be providing free counseling to those small businesses and entrepreneurs. So our resource partners include the Women's Business Center, the Small Business Technology and Development Center, SCORE, the Veterans Business Outreach Center in Arlington. And I think if I missed anybody, also the regional innovation clusters, which is Startup Junkie in Northwest Arkansas, the Conductor in Conway, and one that if you're not familiar with them, Ag Launch, they're out of Tennessee. They do service the Delta region, and Ag Launch is really on the food invention and technology invention side of things. So we are excited about having them on board this year. We'll hopefully have an opportunity to loop them in on one or two of our outreach events. We will be doing a series of rural roadshow is what we call it this year. We have 10 locations throughout the state that will be rural locations. We'll be bringing our SBA delegation and some of our resource partners to the local communities. I think that gives you a quick snapshot. Is that good, Dr. King?
Richard, that's fantastic. Richard, I just want to mention also to those who are on, anyone who needs information on Small Business Administration, we also work in partnership with Small Business Administration. That's why they're a part of this event, and they participate with other events with us as well. So I want to thank Small Business Administration as well as USDA Rural Development for the presentation. I hope you receive the information, and those of you who are on, and you will do necessary follow-up, both for yourself as an individual, but also you do follow up with others who may possibly benefit from the information that has been provided, particularly with rural development on the housing program and on that grant program. I know there was a lot presented by Ms. Harris, a lot of information that she provided to us, and the formula for how those programs work. In other words, the the specific requirements, for the grant program based on income areas within the community, as well as other areas. SBA is a major resource. It provides a lot of resources for small businesses, both urban and rural areas. They were the individual that provided the dollars with the PPP funding program. Those of you who do not know, SBA was the funding source for PPP, while the banks were providing the direct financing for that. Small Business Administration was the one that reimbursed the banks for the non-repayment loans that you received through those banks. And there were I know this is over with now, but there was multi-million dollars that went out through that program in partnerships with the bank and SBA. So we need to keep in contact with them, part of our overall connecting points for community economic development in partnership with USDA rural development, and how those resources can come to play sometime possibly in participating loans, particularly with business. Am I right, Richard?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Small Business Administration or rural development? Okay, I have one comment with USDA rural development, Ms. Harris, and this is on the housing program. This is for clarity to make sure I understood. You said the maximum amount, loan amount, direct loan amount on affordable housing for rural development is $285,000 now. Is Ms. Harris still on? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine, Dr. King. She's on, but she has her mic muted. Did you hear me, Dr. King?
No, I had a question for Ms. Harris. I want to know if I understood correctly that the maximum loan amount for an affordable home. Pardon me?
We heard you, Dr. King. She has left. She has not left the meeting, but she may have just stepped out. She's on the call, but she's not active.
Okay, well, that was a question I had, and a follow-up question to that, and we can get this later. That normally on that affordable side with 285,000, you have to meet certain income requirements. What is the normal monthly payment or annual payment on those loans? I mean, $285,000 as an affordable loan for new construction of a home. But that was a question that I had, and to see what that actual dollar amount was. I'm not sure. Let me ask Dr. Cornel, are you yet? Yes, she is.
I am here.
Dr. Neal.
Were you directing that question to me?
I want to make sure she was on. We have a introduction of Dr. Neal that's going to be by, yes, Mr. Michael Sullivan. Are you still here, Michael?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Mike.
Good deal.
I'm going to bring you down, Mr. Michael Sullivan will be introducing our luncheon speaker. And I'm going to turn it over to you now, Mike, and we can go from here. Mr. Sullivan.
Very good. It's my privilege to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Karama Neal, who is the administrator of the Rural Business Cooperative Service with USDA's Rural Development. Prior to joining RD, Dr. Neal served as president of Southern Bank Corps Community Partners, a nonprofit community development loan fund and financial development organization promoting economic mobility in rural Arkansas and Mississippi. She spent 12 years at Southern and led their small business, consumer, and savings-focused public policy work and a variety of financial development services to help low and moderate wealth families and communities to build wealth. In 2013, Dr. Neal started a statewide grassroots organization promoting passage of the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Acts in Arkansas, which was passed in 2015. And I know there was a lot of discussion about that in this group. This work was inspired by her family's ownership of rural heirs property in the state. Before joining Southern, she had a career in biosciences. She also served on the board of the Little Rock branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. She's extremely well educated. After completing her undergraduate degree in biology at Swarthmore College, Dr. Neal later earned a doctorate in genetics from Emory University and a master's in bioethics and health policy from Loyola University of Chicago. She also completed executive education in impact investing at the University of Oxford Sayed School of Business. And it's really nice to have another familiar face leading USDA activities in Washington, D.C. So please help me welcome Dr. Neal.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I really appreciate it. It is indeed a treat to be invited back to speak to ALFDC and ALCDC. I really appreciate the invitation. I'm glad to be here with you all today. I'm going to share some slides and give me just a second to get that set up. I think that should hopefully go smoothly here. Okay, it should be coming shortly. So you all should be able to see that, I expect now. So again, thank you so much for the invitation. Really pleased to be with you all today. I've known ALCDC and ALFDC's work for most of my life, so it is particularly a treat to be able to talk with you. Today, I want to share our key priorities at rural development. In particular, I'll talk a little bit about USDA in general. I know you've heard from many of my colleagues at the department today already. I want to give you some heads up on some of the kinds of things that we have to come in the context of our collective mission to be your partners in prosperity. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to do. First, let me start with some of USDA's key priorities. We are committed to building rural economies. We are committed to combating climate change, improving food security, building fair and resilient agricultural markets, and addressing longstanding inequities in USDA programs. Many of these things, I think, are aligned with the kinds of things that ALCDC is focused on as well. So now I want to talk about how are we operationalizing these priorities? What are we actually doing with them? And let's start with equity. I know you've heard from colleagues earlier today who may have talked a little bit about this as well, but I'll just reiterate. At USDA, we are recommitting ourselves to the values of equity and inclusion rooted in justice and equal opportunity for our employees and those we serve. This is really the root of what it means to be the people's department. The Biden and Harris administration has a strong commitment to equity. On day one of the administration, January 20th, 2021, the president issued Executive Order 13985, Executive Order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. USDA's priority reflects this. In related work, earlier this month, USDA announced the membership of the new Equity Commission. This commission was authorized and funded by the American Rescue Plan Act and has 15 members and an agricultural subcommittee. There are future plans to launch an additional subcommittee focused on rural community and economic development. The first meeting is coming up on Monday and registration is open to the public. It's open to attend. Encourage you to visit usda.gov/equity-commission to register to attend. So that registration is required, but the meeting's Monday, so go ahead and get in on that if that's something you're interested in attending. So what are we doing at Rural Development? The first departmental priority that I mentioned was on building rural communities. That, of course, is the primary mission, the primary goal of the Rural Development Mission Area. In August, the Rural Development Mission Area announced the ways in which we are implementing the priorities of the Biden-Harris administration and of the Department of Agriculture. We are particularly interested in and excited by projects that will support key administration priorities to help rural America build back better and stronger. Specifically, we're focused on assisting rural communities with recovering economically from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly disadvantaged communities. We're focused on reducing climate pollution and increasing resilience to the impacts of climate change through economic support for rural communities. And we're focused on ensuring that all rural residents have equitable access to rural development programs and benefits from rural development funded projects. These priorities are used in scoring and the selection process for a growing number of our programs. So our commitments are evident throughout our work. I encourage you to visit the website that's listed here, rd.usda.gov/priority-points, to see the maps and the public data supporting the use of these priorities in project selection, and to learn how these priorities apply or will apply to the financing programs that you might be interested in. This is a really important piece. There is, a lot of times you can have words on the page that are very meaningful and very necessary. I appreciate the way that this priority points page at Rural Development is set up, because it really gives you the data to align with what these priorities are. So you can look at that and say, okay, this county or this community where I'm planning this project should qualify for the COVID-19 points or should qualify for the equity points, those kinds of things. You can see that directly with the maps that are on that page. So I encourage you to visit there. So one of the other things that we mentioned, I apologize, my slides got a little off. Here we go. I want to turn now to some specific opportunities that may be particularly relevant to you all. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed vulnerabilities in America's food supply chain, leading to bottlenecks and other challenges in the middle of the food supply chain. The pandemic has highlighted the need to increase capacity of the U.S. food supply chain and make it more resilient, more diverse, and more secure. Under the leadership of President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Secretary Vilsack, USDA is committed to strengthening and diversifying the food supply chain while creating jobs and economic opportunities in rural areas. To shift the balance of power back to the people, USDA is helping build more, better, and fairer markets for producers and consumers alike. So I want to share now just a few of the tools that we're using to do that and give you a little bit of insight into what might be coming or what is coming. A visit to usda.gov/build-back-better, that's one of the websites that's listed on the slide, highlights our efforts to strengthen and transform the U.S. food system. This is in alignment with Executive Order 14017 on America's supply chain. This is a transformative investment, sort of a once in a generation, once in a lifetime kind of opportunity, a real opportunity for producers, for consumers, and more. In December, at Rural Development, we announced the new Food Supply Chain Guaranteed Loan Program that is going to create more and better market opportunities, promote competition, and strengthen America's food supply chain. Through this program, USDA will leverage $100 million in funding from the American Rescue Plan Act to back up more than $1.3 billion in guaranteed loans to finance working capital, facilities, equipment, and other investments. This program guarantees loans of up to $40 million, no minimum, for qualified lenders to finance food systems projects, specifically for the startup or expansion of activities in the middle of the food supply chain. So these are projects, we do fairly well in production. We do fairly well in terms of thinking about retail or institutional purchases. This program is focused on infrastructure for food aggregation, processing, manufacturing, storage, transportation, wholesaling, and distribution, to increase capacity and help build a more resilient, more diverse, and more secure U.S. food supply chain. That's the middle that we're talking about. It's also important to note that unlike a lot of RBCS, Rural Business Cooperative Service, or rural development programs, there actually are no geographic restrictions on this program at all. That's the first key item, that the focus is on the middle of the food supply chain. Second, it's important to note that a variety of lenders can participate in this program. One of the most, we launched this program in December, and the most frequent question that we get about it is, where is the list of approved lenders? And while you can go to your state office in Arkansas, your area office in Forest City or elsewhere to ask for a list of lenders that do participate, it's important to note that this program is open to almost all lenders. So banks or credit unions, really, it's just like a one-page letter they need to write to become active and engaged in this program. For loan funds, nonprofit loan funds, or other non-regulated lenders, not banks or not credit unions. There's a bit of a longer process, but again, it's fairly straightforward and folks can participate. And so I mentioned this because although again, we want to continue working with the lenders who are already engaged in these programs, we also want to bring more lenders on board. We're particularly interested in bringing on lenders who may have an interest in this kind of work, whose priorities and values may align with the kinds of priorities that I talked about when we first opened this presentation. So again, a variety of lenders can participate: federal and state chartered banks, savings and loan associations, farm credit banks with direct lending authority, credit unions, and community development loan funds. So again, a variety of those opportunities, and encourage you, if you are interested in this kind of program or know someone who is, to learn more about it and then bring that to your lender who already knows you, who already hopefully has confidence in your work. And this may be a good option for them. The website is rd.usda.gov/food supply chain loans, and that's where you can go to learn more. Note that a lender that participates in this program is also eligible to participate in several other rural development guarantee programs that focus on a wide variety of rural businesses, renewable energy, community facilities, water, and waste. So this opens up the door to a number of other things as well. And I just want to highlight again, there's no geographic restriction, and this loan provides up to a 90% guarantee on these programs. And hopefully I'm not, everyone knows, sometimes folks don't know how a guarantee works, and maybe I'll just take just a moment to just share that just in case it's helpful, because I know I get this question a lot when we talk about this program. And that is, the guarantee allows you to, if you're let's say you're a processor, or you're someone who's in the middle of the food supply chain, you have a lender that you're working with. That lender hopefully has confidence in your loan. They want to underwrite that loan, but then they can apply to this program to get up to a 90% guarantee. Again, the details are at the website. Up to a 90% guarantee, so that only then 10% of their funds are truly at risk. So that if on the off chance, if something happens and you as the borrower are not able to repay that loan fully, the lender is only responsible for 10%. The government backs, with the full faith and credit of the United States government, backs 90% of the loan, the unpaid portion. So that's how that works, and that can make a project a bit more attractive for a lender, because they have less of their funds at risk. Moving on and continuing with the focus on food systems transformation. The effects of the pandemic have been particularly clear in the meat and poultry processing sector. We launched just yesterday, we launched the Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program. It's one of many actions USDA is taking to enhance local and regional food systems and support economic systems where wealth is created in rural communities and stays in rural communities. This program, this new Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program, uses $150 million in funding from the American Rescue Plan Act again, that will help provide more and better processing options to producers as soon as possible. We're offering grants of up to $25 million, again, no minimum. So we're interested in programs, projects of all sizes. These would be then to expand processing capacity through a variety of activities, including, but not limited to, construction, expansion of existing facilities, and acquisition of equipment. These grants are available to individuals and entities engaged or proposing to engage in meat and poultry processing, as long as they don't hold one of the 4 largest market shares in either beef, pork, chicken, or turkey processing. Again, this is to make sure that we're focused on independent processors, really expanding the supply chain, particularly in the context of processing. One of the things I heard Secretary Vilsack talk about is that we have grown our processing system in particular to be highly efficient. There's not a lot of duplication, there's not a lot of redundancies, it is extremely efficient, but that efficiency means there's not a lot of duplication. And so if there is a weather crisis, if there's a pandemic, if there is a cyber attack, that can be a problem. There's a public health issue. That can be a problem because there aren't those redundancies built in. There's not a lot of capacity, and it can be that system can be very brittle. This program is designed to help reduce that. Because of that, USDA is encouraging applications that benefit small farms and ranchers, those just starting out, as well as tribal producers, socially disadvantaged producers, military veterans, and underserved applications. Applications are being accepted for 45 days. I guess it's 44 now because we launched this yesterday through grants.gov. and interested parties can learn more and submit questions at rd.usda.gov/MPPEP. So there's a link on that website for you to submit questions as well. I also encourage you to visit usda.gov/meet if this is at all a sector that you or others you know are involved in. On that website, usda.gov/meet, you'll find information on other loan, grant, technical assistance, and workforce development programs, along with policy efforts aimed at building a fairer, more competitive, and more resilient meat and poultry supply chain. I encourage you also to check out the videos and sign up to receive updates on the programs you're interested in. Again, yesterday when we had the announcement of this new meat and poultry processing expansion program, there was also an announcement regarding technical assistance for processors and workforce development opportunities. So there's much more to come on the Biden-Harris plan, action plan for the meat and poultry supply chain, and on food systems work more generally. So again, I encourage you to visit the websites that I've listed here so that you can learn more and stay up to date on what is to come. So moving on to some of our existing programs, to share a little bit about some of those. Again, just highlighted some based on what some of the things I know about ALFDC that might be of interest. And of course, happy to take questions at the end if there are other places you all want to go or want to learn more about. So the Value Added Producers Grant, this is one of our most popular programs. It helps agricultural producers enter into value added activities related to processing and marketing of new products. The goal of this program is to generate new products, create and expand market opportunities, and increase producer income. It is often used for food products, but it actually is about value-added products more generally. So in addition to food things like jam or jerky or something like that, we've also seen it used for non-food items. I think I remember seeing a leather example recently. Dr. King, I saw you come on camera. Did you have a question? No? Okay. So again, that's a bit on the value-added producers grant. Next, I want to turn to the socially disadvantaged groups grant. This is specific to cooperatives, and just want to mention that in case that's of interest. But it is focused on socially disadvantaged groups that's defined in the rule, and it provides assistance and technical assistance to those groups who are cooperatives through cooperative development centers. So again, that's something that may be of interest. You can find a list of all of our programs, and there are a number of them at the website that's listed here. These are all of the RBCS, RHS, Rural Housing Service, and Rural Utility Service programs. These include programs on broadband, energy, housing, electric, community facilities, cooperatives, and business programs. RBCS alone has about 40 programs providing grants, loans, loan guarantees, and technical assistance for businesses and cooperatives of all types to facilitate work in food, biofuels, energy efficiency, renewable energy, the bioeconomy, and more. So again, I encourage you to visit rd.usda.gov/page, all programs, to see a list of all the kinds of activities we have. There are a couple that are not listed there. Actually, I'm trying to get them added back to that web page. But there are programs that either have their own site, like the BioPreferred program, which is for bio-based products, products that are developed from agricultural products and often replace petroleum. So this is part of the effort to combat climate change. And also the investinginfood.com website. This is the site managed by the Reinvestment Fund. They are the national fund manager for the Healthy Food Financing Initiative. That is an initiative that is funded by USDA Rural Development, Rural Business Cooperative Service, that focuses again on healthy food opportunities, food deserts, those kinds of things. And so I'm going to encourage you to visit that website to learn more about those programs and those opportunities that are coming up. On the next slide, we've mentioned this already, but again, encourage you to engage with us as I close. This would be my call to action. And I know you all are already engaged because you have the people on this call right now to show that from all over rural development and USDA more broadly. Encourage you again to engage. Our state offices are really the front door to RD services. We know that we all have some of the folks here and really glad to see them on the line. In addition to our national office and our 47 state offices, there are almost 400 area offices, a number around the state of Arkansas as well. And those state offices have staff that can help serve through RBCS, RHS, and RUS. I again encourage you to sign up for our websites. I know that you all probably already are. Engage in our listening sessions, respond to our requests for information, reach out in other ways. We really appreciate and use that feedback. This is something that you see it when I was in prior roles. Sometimes you don't know exactly what happens to that kind of information that you submit. Now I see what's done with it, and we really listen to that work. We value that input. We use it to shape the kinds of programs that you've heard us talk about and the kinds of programs you'll find now and later on our website. My contact information is karama.neal@usda.gov. You'll find that on the website. You'll also see a toll-free number, that's on the next slide here, where you can get additional information. Again, the state offices and the area offices are the best place to start. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today, to share a bit about some of our new programs. As you can tell, at least one of those is very much hot off the press, just announced yesterday. Look forward to continuing to engage. I know that you all have heard from others at USDA and other federal colleagues during this conference. Know that we each look forward to working and talking with you. On behalf of USDA, I offer heartfelt thanks. I look forward to continuing our partnership and cultivating our shared prosperity in America's rural communities. Thank you. Again, happy to answer any questions if there are any. And I will stop sharing my screen here so y'all can see everybody.
Yes, Dr. Neal.
Yes.
I have one question. You mentioned the cooperative side of it. Years ago, they had a cooperative program for housing development. One, is rural development presently engaged in, or can they finance cooperative housing at this point based on their existing program structure? And I hope y'all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Absolutely. Your question was on cooperative housing. And I actually I want to pass that to Rural Housing Service to see if their programs accommodate cooperative housing structures. That said, within our cooperative services branch, we do think a lot about cooperatives of all types. So we've been thinking a lot about cooperative housing, about home health care, other kinds of a wide variety of cooperatives. And this is, that work is accomplished through a number of ways. One, we do have a limited number of people who are on our staff who provide direct technical assistance. We've seen that work, for example, in places where there's been particularly I've seen this with businesses where the business is going to be sold and the workers decide to form a cooperative to then own that business and operate that business so that they don't lose their jobs. We're exploring similar kinds of work in terms of mobile home communities, where maybe there's a mobile home community that's been owned externally and the residents want to form a resident-owned community that is a cooperative that then manages their own community. That may not be exactly what you're talking about, but these are the kinds of things that I know our cooperative service team is thinking about and provides some level of technical assistance on. That assistance is limited, but then I encourage you to reach out so that we can learn more about that. We're trying to, one of the things that we are very intentional about is saying RBCS. In past years, sometimes that's been shortened to RBS, and all that's fine. We certainly honor businesses. We also want to honor the work that we've done for many, many years in cooperatives. And we're the only only agency, I've been told, the only agency in the federal government that has a particular focus on cooperatives. So we very much want to live that. So I can see if I can find additional information from rural housing. We may have somebody from rural housing on here already who can answer that, but can get back to you. But I encourage you to learn about our cooperative services at RBCS as well.
Thank you very much. One other question, and this is for clarity. You gave reference to the added value grant program and working with the small producers and urban farmers. And I think you get reference to new product. If they add value to, if they package it differently for market distribution, would they qualify for the grant program?
That's a great question, and I want to make sure that our experts answer that, and so I can get back to you all on that or direct you all to that to make sure that you get the exact answer on that. But you are right in that the overall goal is to build markets, and sometimes that means packaging something a different way, framing it in a different way, so that it opens it up to a new market of consumers, a new market of potential buyers. So let me find out more about what that particular program and well, not more, but how that your particular question might be addressed, particularly if there's no change in the underlying product. It sounds like this would be a change in packaging and marketing. Is that correct?
Yes, more
Okay.
from that perspective.
Okay, let me find out and I'll get back to you all.
All right, thank you very much. Let me again express my appreciation to Dr. Neal in being here with us. I know she's operating on a tight schedule, and I'm just very happy you were able to fit us in and be a part of this audience, provide us more information regarding USDA rural development and all the resources USDA has to offer, as well as Dr. Goldman, our opening morning speaker, our panel presenters as well. You know, we're bringing this to an end. I want to again offer my apology to our audience. You know, our intention was to do this presentation all together during our total power out at our office on the ice situation. Some of the other individuals in that area who had planned to be on was not able to be on because they have power outages in that area. This is the part of our recognition. Our intention was to give a recognition to one of our mentor farmers and an individual who had been a part of the organization over the years. And this is posthumous, of course, but it was Mr. Harvey Williams. Mr. Harvey Williams, his contribution both to the organization, his contribution to the African-American community, and those who are now part of the present leadership, some within USDA and some as farmers. But what he offered as a mentor and a supporter of the organization, you can't measure the value of what it has represented for the organization itself. I'm sure Harvey Jr. is on today, but we did publish one of our newsletters recognizing Mr. Williams for his work, dedication, his leadership as a local farmer. He's one also that understood the importance of resources, availability of resources, how to access those resources, and he did so across the lines. Both NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Services, with Farm Service Program Agencies, which has a major program services for risk management and running a farming operation, as well as coinciding back with USDA rural development itself. So having an understanding, knowing the programs and how to access those programs, he was a true mentor in that sense. But one of the areas that was most important is where he served as a mentor to other individuals. And I'm saying to the individual youth program. And many individuals, some of the individuals have gone on to be part of USDA. And of course, the chairman of our board, also, he was a mentor for him during his youth days, Brian Cornelius, and others who have come along who are now, again, participating in agencies as well as in the private sector, you know, from that standpoint. Again, thank you, Dr. Neal. Thank you, all the presenters, all those who participated in this event. Again, we did not present the way that we had intended to, and I know you all are probably some not very good communication from where I am. I'm operating from a satellite. I want to mention also our upcoming events is in the chat box. We have some upcoming events, out meetings, but they're in the chat box, so you can pull that and you'll see the events that we have coming in March, and we'll be sending out information on that in publications. If you possibly know contact on the list based on region that's located, I would ask that you call our office at 870-734-3005. Again, thank you to all of our congressmen, to all of our presenters, our speakers, and our presenters. And we'll look forward to you participating in other upcoming events. Thank you very much. And this does conclude our conference. Maybe I should say it on, and this does conclude the conference event for 2020.
Hey, Calvin, are you still there? I guess he's gone.
Yes, I'm still here. Yes, Ms. Irby.
Yes, I I sent you a couple emails. I've been taking notes on this whole meeting, but I sent you an email on Wanda Snyder. So check that email out for me. Did you hear what I said?
Okay, I will.
Okay. I hope you get the feeling better and let me know what's going on.
Yeah, you can reach me. You can reach me at 870-295.
I got your home number. I'll call you.
Again, this concludes ALCDC's meeting. About to sign off. Thank you, guys.